Hello, and welcome to this slideshow. This is the fifth in a series where I, Bones, tell Jake, a dinosaur, about what magic was like in the past. This time we're going to talk through the four sets that released in 2010, what playing Magic was like for me back then, and how the sets impact Cube in the modern day. Hello, Jake. What were you doing this year instead of playing Magic?
I was doing a couple things. I think most notably, one of my favorite video games of all time, Mass Effect 2, came out this year, which was so exciting for me that I went back and played Mass Effect 1. Also a banger, so I loved that.
I also like that Mass Effect. Not as much as you, but I enjoyed playing it.
I think that summer I just played like an unreasonable amount of times through this game, which is in retrospect weird. Not something I would ever do. I had a lot less access to new games at the time, so it was very exciting to get to do that. I was also playing a lot of Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, which I believe formally came out this year. And then, wow, on the gaming front, watching Inception, Shutter Island. I also went to prom for the first time this year.
Wow.
And yeah, I think that's a good holistic summary. I also started doing Science Olympiad, which would ultimately be something that really shaped a lot of the end of high school and part of college for me, and I was really big into. So shout out Science Olympiad.
What is that?
It's a national science competition in the United States where essentially a team of 15 students compete in, I think, 23 different events. Different things from like a car powered by a mousetrap that has to stop in certain positions to a test on anatomy. And you would essentially compete in these at a state level and then ultimately at a national level if you won for your particular state.
That sounds very cool. What category were you in?
So I did a couple different things. This year I did mousetrap vehicle, which was one of my examples there, where we basically had a mousetrap powered car that had to start via pencil actuation and had to stop at any predetermined set of distances that essentially we'd be told a distance. We had to get to stop there. I did an event where you just showed up and you got a bunch of materials and you had to design an experiment and run it in the time limit. I did a forensics event where you did a lab practical of various forensic tests on top of a test. I also did rocks and minerals, where you memorized a lot of facts about rocks and minerals, and then you answered them on the test.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I give that a lot of credit for my sort of love of science and ultimate decision to pursue a career in the science fields. So this was really an impactful thing for me at the time.
Well, cool. Yeah, this year was really impactful for me as well, even with our age gap. It was the end of my first year of college and the beginning of my second. I had changed my major to sociology, which is what I ended up graduating with. I entered into college picking Spanish education and quickly learned that neither education nor Spanish were ideal matches for me. I also began dating my future wife in this year. So we have been together continuously since this year.
Wow. Do you speak Spanish?
I do.
Fluently?
Well, it's like riding a bike. I can understand it very well. I can communicate what I want to say pretty rustily.
Fantastic. I speak Spanish moderately well.
Yeah, we're probably in the same ballpark.
Though both of my dad's parents, it was their first language. So
Okay, maybe we're not in the same ballpark.
No, I don't want to overestimate my prowess in that. I didn't know you spoke Spanish. That's brand new to me as far as our friendship goes.
So I took Spanish 1, 2, and 3 in high school, and I have been to Costa Rica, and I had many opportunities to use it in my hometown, in the gas station I worked in. And then when I got to college, I was under the impression that Spanish 1 in college would effectively be the fourth continuous year of like Spanish. That college level 1 is probably really like high school level 4. That's not correct. So I entered my Spanish 1 class, and we were learning like how to say your name on the first day. And when the teacher got to me, I had a little conversation with them about the weather, and she was like, "Oh, you're not supposed to be in here." Then I took a test to prove that you don't have to be in there, like a CLEP test, and I passed it, like basically like the final exam for the year. I took on the first week, and then they're like, okay, yeah, you get the credit hours for this. You don't have to be in this class anymore. And then when it came time the next semester, and I hadn't spoken Spanish at all for like 3 months, I was like, maybe I don't care about Spanish.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome. I did not take any in college, but I did take it in high school, and then wife and I practiced it a bunch before going to Spain a couple years ago. And I'm proficient enough that in rural Spain, I was able to communicate with people who don't speak very much English,
hmm
but not fluent by any means.
So yeah, I started my sociology degree, which I loved and have never done anything with professionally, but have enjoyed having a background in for my own curiosities. I was playing a whole lot of League of Legends, way too much, full-fledged addiction at this point in life, and Minecraft also released this year. I enjoyed playing a lot of that. That was a much better game to play during class than League of Legends. A lot less suspicious uh, when I'm supposed to be taking notes. Plants vs Zombies as well was another class time favorite. I wasn't a very good student, if you can tell. And Halo Reach released this year, and I was a huge Halo fan in high school, and getting a new Halo game was a big deal for me at the time. You may recall that Halo Reach is pretty different from other entries in the series, so that had some public unhappiness with it.
That is definitely true. However, it was really my first introduction to the series. As an oldest child, I had to fight pretty hard to get the M-rated games
Yeah.
into our household.
hmm
So I did get to play Halo Reach at friends' houses, and we spent a lot of time in Forge doing
Oh yeah,
that.
of course.
So that was a big part that I didn't realize with this year. But now that you say that, I think it was end of 2010 in the fall that we were really getting into that.
I also watched Inception and Shutter Island. My wife is a huge cinephile, and so whenever we first started dating, it was a lot of her showing me movies and taking me to the movies to see things that I wouldn't have ordinarily gone and see on myself. Repo Men came out this year. Not a fantastic movie by any means, but we both really liked it, and we watched it in the theater, I think, 3 or 4 times.
Wow, 4 times. I've never seen any movie in the theater 4 times.
Yeah, well, she worked at the theater, so it helped that we weren't paying normal prices to get in there. But
Okay.
and also, The Walking Dead came out this year as on AMC, and that was like a huge community thing that the college, all my friends in college would like go to the one person who had access to AMC, and we would all watch it together every single Sunday, like ritually. And this is back when The Walking Dead was good.
I never really watched The Walking Dead, but your Walking Dead experience sounds like my Breaking Bad and Game of Thrones experience a couple years
Exactly.
later
Yeah,
when
yeah,
I will
yeah.
be in college.
Yeah. So you
And
get it.
I'm also glad you didn't make the I watched Inception or did I joke. I was really worried that was coming.
No, I won't.
I was like, oh no.
And lastly, in the non-magic field, I started a new job, which will be very important for the trajectory of my life, and I will get into in further detail later in this very video.
Wait, is your job at the gas station where you learned about the peanuts and Coke thing?
It is, yeah, because the guys would come out
Okay.
from working the fields and they would ask for peanuts and Coke, and they had dirty hands, and then you don't have to touch any of the food that's going to go in your mouth with your hands. You just unscrew the top, drink a little Coke, rip open the peanuts, pour them in.
Wow. Yeah, that makes sense. It just I didn't clock that when you mentioned it before, but it all of a sudden came flooding back to me.
Yeah, the gas station I worked at was surrounded by fields on all sides, so we were the first stop for them on their lunch break.
That makes sense.
Okay, and then of course, as always, I was getting further into Magic. So before I reveal this first set of cards, can you name the other 5 cards in Bodleian from this year? Besides
5?
five
Oh,
other cards
no.
besides the one on the screen.
Besides Jace the Mind Sculptor. Are you counting each Stoneforge Mystic as a card, or is
No,
that one?
that is a single card. So congratulations, you
Okay.
have four to go.
Okay, so it's definitely Stoneforge Mystic.
You actually cut some recently,
We're in 2010. That's news to me.
but I'm not including them. I'm just letting you know that since I made the list of cards in 2010, the current Bodleian list is different. I had to correct it.
Oh, so some of these are cards I cut recently, but they're still
No,
on your
no, no,
list?
no. It was like 7 or 8 before. Now it is still 5.
It's still 5. Oh, no. So I have to decide what I think comes out this year, right? Because I know we're...
Do you know what set Jace the Mind Sculptor's from?
Well, I know Jason's his thing. I know that's like Oath of the Gatewatch.
Wrong.
That's not Oath of the Gatewatch?
No, we're years away from that, buddy.
Wait, really? Oh, right, because this is original Zendikar block, not
Yes, not the return.
Return to Zendikar block,
Mhm.
which means I'm even further lost in time relative to where I was. So I know it's Stoneforge Mystic. Let's see, what else do I have that's old? Someone's mad already that I said this is old, but 2010 was 15 years ago. So it's pretty old.
I'm not mad.
So I'm trying to decide, where do we go after Zendikar? I think Phyrexia and Innistrad are both soon.
Correct.
And I think we go to Innistrad before Phyrexia?
Incorrect. We're also not going to either of those this year.
Oh no. So my Phyrexian Metamorph guess is not going to land correctly. But yeah, I actually have no idea.
Okay, Arbor Elf.
You know, given infinite time, I don't think... If you let me look at the list, I don't think I could have told you that.
Inquisition of Kozilek.
Okay, that checks out.
Preordain.
Really?
Primeval Titan.
Wait, I thought the Titans came out in 2011.
They came out in M11, which releases in 2010.
2010. Oh no. Well, that's a bummer.
There you go.
I mean... Oh, so when you said I cut some, it was Inferno Titan.
Mm-hmm. And some other card. Maybe Galvanic Blast?
I did cut that.
Yeah, I think that was the other one. So yeah, here's what the good players were playing. They were getting Emrakul out in Standard with Polymorph and or just a bunch of ramp from the cards that are in Rise of Eldrazi. There's a ton of ramp.
That was feasible. You could just get to 15 mana.
Yes.
Wow. That's just not really a thing that happens. And I don't think I've ever seen a game of Magic where people got to 15 mana that wasn't infinite mana.
Well, surprise. Are you surprised that this is the first printing of Preordain?
I knew it was coming sometime soon, but I didn't specifically know that it was now. I know Ponder is older.
Mm-hmm. Lorwyn.
Right. From your education. I guess it makes sense. Because they don't print more powerful cantrips. In fact, they really, started with Ancestral Recall and just keep
shaving points.
Going further and further away from that, taking things away. And when you consider that Preordain, for 4 mana, you get a second card. And that's the only difference between this and that effect usually at common. This is pretty crazy.
Uh-huh.
So I didn't know that, but I am really fond of Preordain. I think it's a really interesting decision card. Scrying 2 is much more interesting than Scrying 1 to me, and, it's sorcery speed. It's very powerful, but it's very clean.
Preordain gets banned in Modern. I don't know if you know that.
Yeah, because it only got unbanned recently.
Correct, yeah. So yeah, we had Serum Visions as our Modern 1-drop cantrip for a long time.
Yes, I actually did know that. In part because a friend of mine maintains a Modern ban list cube.
Oh, nice.
And he was very excited when Preordain got to go in.
Okay, so this is what the good players are playing.
Yeah.
And as we've established, I am not one of them.
Whoa.
Here's a picture of me from this year in a class.
This is awesome. This is already maybe your best PowerPoint so far.
I'm surrounded here by a deck that I had called Kids, or Little Kids, that was all 1-drops. It's a standard deck exclusively comprised of 1-mana cards. I could not afford Goblin Guides since they were $40 a piece. So I would borrow my friend's copies of Goblin Guide when he wasn't using them.
Wow. So you're borrowing Goblin Guides. I need to stop you for 1 second here and ask, do you think that the women in the background of this photo ever thought that they would be featured in a YouTube video in 2025 going over Magic cards?
No, probably not.
That's really funny to me.
And I can tell you, no, I don't think the Magic the Gathering ever crossed their minds.
Okay, so we got Pulse Tracker, who's attacking, and for 2. I mean, this is just...
It's basically Savannah
Lions. Upside.
Yeah, and you can't even block half of it.
Yeah, it's a half unblockable Savannah Lions. We've got Skitter of Lizards. That's a weird name for a card, but...
It is. I love Raging Goblins, so whenever we got a strictly better Raging Goblin, despite the fact that it's not a goblin,
because we got Multi-Kicker here? That's really cool. I mean, this is a cool card.
Mm-hmm.
I like it. Burst Lightning, a classic. Lightning Bolt, a classic. Bushwhacker, a classic. And I love Virulent Swipe.
Yeah, this is how I was able to trade up with those pesky more than one mana cards my opponents are playing.
I'm really fond of this card, specifically from playing it in your Arcane Lessons cube
Oh,
out
yeah.
of the sideboard with Dreadhorde Arcanist, which
Yuck!
was
Oh,
really cool.
I bet it was. Oh my goodness. Beyond the little kids deck that's on the screen here, I was also playing an allies deck, which gets a lot of support in this set. This set being World Wake. Woo 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 woo. So this is the
Fantastic.
second set in the Zendikar block, the first set of 2010. As was the case for years and years and years and years, Magic releases would go new world, new set, new mechanics, and then they would do a second, smaller set that just expands on those same mechanics. And then the third set would sell very poorly. And they had what they called a third set problem for a long time, where it's just like players are sick of being on the same world for so long, or they're getting bored, or whatever. But you want to tell a compelling story, so they felt like they needed to be on 3 separate sets so that they could like have like an introduction and then a rising action and a climax.
Right. That makes sense. And also, players from 2010, you guys did not know how good you had it.
Yeah. So then they would always they would continually try new things with the third set to shake things up. So we know that obviously Time Spiral, Planar Chaos, Future Sight are all very different. Alara Reborn had the gimmick of being all gold. Shadowmoor was like a completely separate world from the first 2 sets, and then they expanded on it with a 4th set, which was completely new. And so in this one, when we get to Rise of the Eldrazi, it is just going to be another large set that shares no mechanics with these 2 sets. But we don't know that at the time, the players.
Right.
So we get this, we get World Wake, and it is a continuation of the mechanics from Zendikar, which were allies, landfall, quests, traps, and one new mechanic, which I've already shown you, multi-kicker.
Wait, Rebound's not new?
Rebound is not in World Wake.
Oh, it's coming up.
Yeah.
I have an aside for you.
Okay.
Are all the items in this image, like, is the player's guide to World Wake the same size as this deck box, which is like way too big to hold these packs?
So you
like,
see how it's like slid up like that?
Yeah.
So there's cardboard in there that is keeping it slid up to that size. So there's a book inside this. The player's guide is the size of the packaging there that's in the center right. And then all these booster packs are inside the plastic, or inside the cardboard box underneath that. So then once you take the cardboard holders out, the deck box slides down to a fat pack size. And then this player's guide does not fit in it anymore.
Okay. This perspective was just really messing with me, and I needed to ask the important questions.
Yeah, I'm glad.
About this.
This fat pack also came with every fat pack comes with a set of basics from the world, and these ones were all full art. So these were extremely popular because the full art lands were.
Zendikar has fantastic full art basics from every visit.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And this is the first time we get full art lands that are not from Unhinged or Unglued. So this is the first time that you can like reasonably get a lot of full art basics while you are buying cards for formats you can actually play them in. Okay.
Very cool.
Just for Jake. So I'm going to do a little bit of a departure across this slideshow. As we're getting more recent or closer to current times, it's more difficult for me to find cards that suit your playstyle that you probably haven't heard of. So I'm going to highlight cards that I think you might like that you almost certainly already know of, and then at least one card that you may not have heard of. So here's Stoneforge. I'm pretty sure you already know Wolfbriar Elemental because Andy loves that card.
I'm vaguely familiar with Wolfbriar Elemental. It's a cool card. I like wolves. But I haven't played with it a lot.
Okay. What are your feelings on Death Shadow?
Death Shadow is a weird card. I think the idea of the card is really cool. I do think that in Limited, it does require some specific piece of context for the environment. There are some weird interactions with it, certainly. It's one of those cards that does strike me as like very complicated to fight itself.
Mm-hmm.
Like having one on both sides of the battlefield. But I also think it's evocative. I think one of the most cool things about Magic is you see a card like this and you're like, this is a 1-mana 13/13. And then you see, well, it loses life equals to your life total statically. And that's really cool. Like I think even if you're a brand new player, you look at this and you think this has to be good. I just don't know how yet. And I think that's quintessentially Magic.
Hmm. This is another in the series of R&D one-upping themselves, where they had, they had their biggest creature, and then they would make a new bigger creature. And this is like, how big can we make a one-mana card? And then this is one-upping Phyrexian Dreadnought.
Oh, that's really cool. Another great card. So truly, they're doing a great job. I don't know if we have a 1 mana 14/14,
We do not.
but I'm confident that if they make it, I won't like it nearly as much as those two cards. Yeah, Death Shadow really cool, and in cube, Strikes is the kind of card breaking Singleton on would be very, very cool.
It's fantastic in my Museum of Modern. Players really enjoy getting to fetch, shock, Thoughtseize, gut shot, or mutagenic growth or whatever, and like see how quickly they can get a shadow down that's actually threatening.
Yeah. Do you have multiple there?
Yeah, I have two. It's a supported deck, a dedicated
Very
supported
cool.
deck.
Very cool.
Have you ever
And then
seen?
there's a brand new card to me here.
Yeah, have you ever seen Calastria Highborn?
I have not. Is Calastria the correct pronunciation?
I think so. What were you gonna say?
That sound. Well, I don't want to say it now. That makes a lot of sense now that I read it. We're just gonna read the card. Whenever it dies or another vampire dies, we pay black, and if we do, we drain them for 2. I mean that is pretty cool. Why does she have like a vampire pet?
That is a zombie pet called a Null. The vampires on Zendikar have mindless minions called Nulls, which are zombies.
Very cool. I like this card. It's slightly pip intensive, but I think it's very cool. And you were correct. The Stoneforge Mystic is one of my favorite Magic cards of all time.
Well, she came out here in Worldwake, and she did not make a huge splash in Standard yet. But rest assured, her time is coming.
Well, the Stoneblade decks are coming, right?
They're not here yet, but they're coming.
Such a famous archetype that even I know the name.
There is a small equipment theme in Zendikar Worldwake for the core specifically, but the best thing here is like Basilisk Collar. Once we get to Scar's block, though, we start getting swords.
Gotcha.
Okay.
All right.
So some cards that I think are cool for cubes. Take a look at Thada Adel and Forgive the Island Walk.
That is an interesting card. I kind of hate searching your opponent's deck.
I think the thing that is cool about this to me is that most decks can play an artifact. There's not very many colored ones, even with shards being pretty close before this. So it doesn't have to do any of the, you can spend mana of any color or type to play that card, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's almost always going to get a colorless card anyway. And most people are playing artifacts in a pretty universal capacity. Their equipment or their mana rocks, or they have some charging effect, or they're a spell bomb effect. They're using them as like kind of universal pieces. And so getting your opponent's universal piece, not their bomb, not their removal, just some little like universal thing and taking it out of the deck and putting it on your side isn't going to hose them that much, but does give you a little bit of interesting advantage that varies from opponent to opponent. So I find it very charming.
I think that's cool. Somehow in like a really janky vintage cube, I think this would be very charming. Like you just like hit them and take their Black Lotus. But it's more that there's this like weird spiky incentive where if you let people search their opponent's decks, they're sort of incentivized to try to like memorize what they have in a way that I think isn't actually fun for either player really, but feels correct on win rate for one of the players. And that's one of my pieces that I would caution against with a card like this. But I think in the right environment, this is very cool.
That's so funny to me because I've been playing this card for 15 years and I have never, ever thought to read the non-artifact cards of my opponent's deck.
So that, if your playgroup is like that, awesome, right? But I think if there's anyone in your playgroup who's going to spend 5 minutes reading over every card in the opponent's deck to get the marginal win rate increase that represents, this is less cool.
That's so funny. Yeah, never even crossed my mind. Do you know Abyssal Persecutor?
I do know Abyssal Persecutor, and this card is eminently cool. Again, you can't win the game, and your opponents can't lose the game. It's just such an evocative line of text, right? When you are a new Magic player and you read this card, you think, wow, what's going on with this? Because you're sure you don't get something, and you just don't know what that thing is yet, but it so loudly tells you there's something you don't know, but it makes you excited to find it out, and I love that.
Mm-hmm. Super cool. What about Stone Idol Trap?
This is brand new to me, and 612 is one of the funniest stat lines that exists. So this is where Stone Idol, whatever that like commander card is based
Yes.
off of.
Yes, it is. Correct.
But this is way cooler.
Mm-hmm. That card is just strong. This card is cool.
So this can never really attack unless you can give the card haste.
Right. It is meant to be a trap for the opponent who is attacking. They don't realize they're attacking into this 6/12, and then before you lose it, you get to hit them with it once.
Oh, your next end step. That's very cool. I missed that part.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love this.
Yeah, you get to surprise them by slamming a big boulder in front of their guy, and then you get to roll it toward them, and then it goes away.
Yeah, I love this. What a good card.
And Explore. I think Explore is underplayed in cubes. I think the effect is very interesting.
I think you're right. I think it's often underrated that Explore works with cards that let you play lands from other zones. I know that's not always your favorite thing, but when you cast Explore, you can play 2 lands out of your graveyard with Crucible Worlds, and that's not true with the Growth Spile, Rampant Growth style of cards.
Mm-hmm. True. This is the floor on Time Walk, after all.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay. Cube staples. Cards that I'm sure you've seen. Arbor Elf, you obviously already know. I'm sure you know all these cards, in fact, but here is their first printings.
Wait, why didn't Celestial Colonnade come up in
Good question.
the cards that I run?
I don't know.
Nor did Creeping Tar Pit, which I assume is also from this set.
Yeah, that's right. I don't know why they aren't in there. Interesting. I wonder if the software was hitting a different printing of it, or
I didn't know that that was possible. I thought it was always like the original printing. Maybe you hit the exclude lands button. That's possible.
I bet I did exclude lands. Yeah. So yeah, that might come up
Okay,
again.
that because I saw that I was just like, huh, like this is weird. And then
Yeah,
like I
I
love
probably excluded
Celestial.
lands. I think you're right.
I love Celestial Colonnade, or I guess Colonnade is the correct pronunciation, right?
Yeah, probably.
Well, Celestial Colonnade is an incredibly interesting Magic card. Absolutely adore it. I think they've never made a creature land this cool since then. Basilisk Collar is very cool, though. Man, do I wish it gave any other keyword besides lifelink. I think Death Touch is one of the coolest keywords to grant via an equipment. It works so interestingly with things like pingers.
Yep.
But lifelink is the opposite. And that's a bummer. Arbor Elf is great. Love it. And Avenger Zendikar is such a cool Magic card. It's funny in that this is a cube staple, but it's like not a card I think people talk about in 2025 very much at all.
I agree. Mm-hmm.
In like any context. Like,
well, in Commander,
which is kind of a bummer.
Comes up in Commander a lot.
Yeah. That makes sense. I didn't know that, but that makes sense. But I meant in Cube, I think this used to be a premier green top end, and now games are faster, and I feel like it's probably like too messed up in like a Bones Cube.
Mm-hmm.
Like you probably can't just like put this in Amankar and then like see what happens. Like this would probably just devastate people.
Yep.
Which means probably like I'd be excited for cubes where this is very exciting, and feels reasonable as a top end play.
Yeah, I think it's mostly going to be nostalgia cubes because it is like a mythic. So if you're running a mythic, why are you not running a better one from recent unless it is nostalgia? But
yeah, I think there's probably a band where this like works, but I do think that it's like pretty easy for this to be too expensive and pretty easy on the other end for this to be too much for the cost.
I will say, if my opponent is natural ordering to cheat something out, I would much rather they natural order out Avenger than Primetime.
I do think that one of the most interesting and charming components of Avenger is exactly that. When you cheat it out, you have fewer lands in play, which creates this sort of natural scaling. Mm-hmm. And I do think that that's maybe an unexplored space in Cube. Having cheat, but having your cheat targets be cards like this that are a lot worse when you cheat them out only.
Yeah, and I also like that The one of your big weaknesses whenever you do cheat is edicts, because you're just cheating out something, especially with natural order. You may be sacrificing your only creature to get a different only creature, so then you lose to an edict. But with plants, it protects you from edicts unless they say non-token specifically, which is a cool line as far as defending your cheat.
That is cool. It'd also be really cool with Insidious Roots, which I know is you
Ooh,
know,
yeah.
I just because it makes the plants, and then you like have multiple ways of putting counters on all your plants, and then all your plants that Adventure Zendikar makes tap for mana. Like that's just a very cool synergy that I probably is underexplored because I don't imagine those two cards are on the battlefield together a lot of the time. But
Yeah. Show us your plants cube.
yeah, where is the plants typal deck in your cube?
I want to see Plants vs. Zombies cube that is 180 zombie cards and 180 plants cards. Okay. My personal favorites. So, we've already talked about Skitter Lizards. I also mentioned the Allies deck that I was running at the time. Hot Free Blade there is the premier one drop in the Allies deck, as it immediately begins accruing counters. And then Halimar Excavator is my favorite win condition in the Allies deck.
Wait, this is a mill deck and an aggro deck?
It's both. It can be whatever the opponent is softer to.
That is really flexible. All right, and then we have a exile target land you control. That's always a spicy line of text in a card.
Ruin Ghost is an all-star in Amonkar.
You exile it and return it.
Yep, so you can trigger landfall abilities at any time, and you
Yeah.
can get whatever the land does when it enters again. So there's a variety of ETB lands, like Colony Garden, which has Graft, so you can reset the plus counter. Oh, no, I'm sorry. That's Land of War Reborn, has Graft, so you can reset the counter, and then Colony Garden makes a plant
Colony
token.
Gardens makes the plant.
Yeah.
In the plant versus zombie cube, all-star.
There you go. Yeah, there's a bunch of ways to make it really cool in Amonkar specifically.
Yeah, I love the Zendikar spirits too. I think they typically have very, very cool art.
Yeah, I agree. And Searing Blaze was just exactly what I like. I didn't have any fetches to make it really good on the opponent's turn, but I was already going to be playing a land, and like when you're playing on curve and you get to do 3 to the creature and 3 to the face, and then get attack unblocked, very much what I wanted to be doing with my small creature decks.
Fantastic art too.
Yeah, really good art.
I like this much more than the like lightning. Like I feel like a lot of burn spells, right, just have like some
Sparks.
like lightning kicking around in like a sky, and like this is so evocative by comparison.
Mm-hmm. There's a textless version of this card which gets printed soon as well. Not an ideal
that's
textless printing, but it looks cool.
Yes.
Okay. Fun facts about Worldwake. Are you familiar with the deck Zombie Hunt using the left 2 cards?
Well, I mean, you're just gonna draw a ton of cards and then you discard them all with Zombie Infestation to make zombies, and then don't deck yourself. Hopefully.
Yeah, because you have the other treasure hunts.
Right. Very cool. Love when a common and uncommon come together to make a deck.
This is a standard deck that you can play on a budget for a long time, and you can just catch some people off guard.
It's the cat oven of 2010.
What's funny to me is that it's the opposite of the present day, where things like Belcher are cheating with the fact that their lands are on the back, so it looks like they're playing no lands. And in this day, you would have to find a way to be interacting when your deck is all lands. So they're playing like Quicksand and Creeping Tar Pit and Halimar Depths, and like trying to find ways to do things to the board without playing any card that is not a land except these 2 cards, which is just the exact opposite of the MDFC time.
I think that's way more charming.
Yeah, I agree. Roiling terrain here. You probably have not seen anything like this because nothing like this exists.
That's really funny. I like the idea. This is like a stone rain that like punishes the opponent for getting stone rained a lot.
Well, guess what else? For every fetch they've used, and if you mill them, you can punish them for being milled and kill them without milling them out.
Yeah, I mean, as far as land destruction, I can't believe this is a common.
Right.
I don't know if there's a mill thing going on here in this limit for it. There was Ruin Crab, I guess, which is pretty unfortunate. This probably wasn't problematic, but when it was problematic, it probably felt terrible to lose to.
I don't think anybody but me ever played this card. like to any significant degree.
Okay.
It was a pet card for me because I thought it was very funny to mill people and then punish them. Because Hedron Crab is right around this time.
Right.
But yeah, like having a counterburn deck, the win condition is milling you a little bit and then punching you in the face based on how much I've milled you was really funny to me. Walking Atlas. Do you know about this card?
I don't. It reminds me of Arboreal Grazer.
There is a mistake on this card. Can you spot it? It is not the name. It is not the art. It is nothing in the bottom, like artist or anything like that. Something in the middle of the card is wrong.
It's not an artifact creature.
Bingo! Do you think this has been eroded to artifact?
Yes.
You're correct. This has never been reprinted. Its only printing is incorrect. The Jake special.
Yeah, that is truly a Jake special. Did you put that in here just?
Oh, this is trivia I share with everybody, but I think it's especially funny that you, who hate functional errata, are the one that I'm telling it to this time.
Yeah, they just printed this card incorrectly, and then just for like, no, couldn't be bothered to reprint this.
The extremely funny thing is that here's Eye of Ugin, the next card. This is a teaser for what the Eldrazi are going to be. The Eldrazi are going to be the first colorless non-artifact creatures. And we don't know that. We don't know anything about them. We don't know what the word Eldrazi means at this point in time. When this card comes out, it means nothing and does almost nothing. It's just a teaser. And then they misprinted Walking Atlas as a colorless creature. That's not an artifact.
You gotta wonder if someone in R&D was just, mixing sets up and was like, yeah, the colorless creatures in this set, not artifacts, including this like weird book dude.
Yeah, they made the Eldrazi really eye-catching because they are full frame art. The art goes through the text box, and this still has the traditional artifact border, and the card's only at the top. So, like, it's hard to know if that was intentional, but it's a very funny mix-up given what's right around the corner.
Is disturbing looking. Like,
he's a folded-up Atlas.
I don't know. He's like a weird, creepy dude in an N64 game. Is how I feel about this guy.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like a 6-year-old has nightmares about this like walking book dude who's like really annoying and like won't stop telling you about like the safety features in the game and like the controls.
Okay, cool. So we are going to get to Rise of the Eldrazi. That is the next set chronologically, but Magic is going to start leaning further into supplemental sets. We've got like dual decks happening. We had Plane Chase recently. We've had we're gonna get Commander in paper next year, I believe, for the first time. But we're just getting there, and I want to keep things moving along appropriately. So rather than go straight to Rise of the Eldrazi, which is next, I'm going to introduce you to Arch Enemy.
Very cool.
So I was playing Elder Dragon Highlander in college dorm floors at this time. And we like to shake things up by including planes, keep things unpredictable and fun, and not tactical or strategic in any way. And Arch Enemy, we just added onto that. So we added some Arch Enemy's cards to our play experience, and we put a sticker on one of the sides of the Plane Chase die that was the Phyrexian symbol. So if you roll the Phyrexian symbol, you would trigger the top scheme, and you had no idea what it does. We just had this set of like 15 schemes that were universally good for you. So here's some of my favorites. And the rule was whenever you rolled the Plane Chase, you had to pull the card and read it in a villain voice, because all the names are extremely embrace my diabolical vision. Only blood ends your nightmares.
Yeah, I love that, and my friend group has enacted similar rules in various games over time. So I'm right at home with this.
Notably, sometimes people would turn one roll embrace my diabolical vision, and it would just ruin every single person's starting hand by giving them a different 7 cards they can't mulligan, or 4 cards in the case of everyone but the person rolling this. Gotta love when
games. It sounds like peak college
games are
game design.
Completely ruined by variants, and we are like, yeah, that's fine. It's normal.
Yeah, Joe is sitting here in the comments typing out how much fun that sounds. So
there you go. Yeah, so Arch Enemy was a blast. We had a lot of fun with those cards. We played actual Arch Enemy, where it's like a multiple people against one person with an Arch Enemy deck, maybe a single time.
I mean, it sounds like you're having great fun with it, which I think is the point of products like this.
Yeah, we were having fun. Speaking of fun, Rise of the Eldrazi. So, as I said, this is a large set that is going to be a departure from the mechanics of Zendikar and Worldwix. So we're not going to care about allies or landfall or kicker or quest or traps or any of that. Brand new mechanics in Rise of the Eldrazi and a completely different limited experience that old heads still rave about to this day. How many of the mechanics of this set can you rattle off?
Do we have the spawns and processors in this set?
No. Well, spawns, yes. Processors, no.
So processors will be
Processors,
in the future.
That's two different things.
Yeah, processors and something else.
Yeah.
So we have the spawns. We have Annihilator.
Yes.
Okay, so we have Annihilator. We have spawns. How many are there?
4. You've already listed
Annihilator?
Annihilator. Spawns is not a mechanic.
Colorless mana.
Not a named mechanic. Also, not a theme of this set. It's just there's just big colorless creatures. Devoid is also not until Oath of the Gatewatch.
Oh, all right. So we're still in happy territory. Let's see. What else do I know about this set? Not very much.
End of list.
We're gonna call it.
Rebound. You did name this earlier. This is where Rebound comes
from.
R&D likes to do a thing where when a bunch of their mechanics are not on instant sorceries, in this case they're all on permanents, they try to have one mechanic that is on spells. So that's where they'll bring back Flashback, or they'll introduce a riff on Flashback, or Overload, or whatever. They want to have something on the instants and sorceries that is unique to this set, much like they always do something special on the creatures. So Rebound was the spells mechanic for this set, and that's a theme that you can see recurring in the future. Obviously, we just had traps on the last set, and you'll keep seeing that as we go forward in time.
I love Rebound as a mechanic.
Oh, Rebound rules. The other two mechanics here are Level Up and Totem Armor.
I forgot about that one. I think I could never tell you what Totem Armor does if you asked me right now.
That's very funny. Totem Armor is very popular at this time. It does get renamed Umbra Armor.
That's the same mechanic?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
But when it was printed, it was Totem Armor.
That is functionally right. That's like a enchantment thing, and like when the creature be destroyed, you can sack the enchantment instead. Or you can sack enchantments attached to it instead of it dying?
No, and it's not optional. If the creature would be destroyed, destroy the aura and remove all damage from that creature instead.
Okay. Yeah. I guess I do know what that does. I just didn't know it by the name.
So this set is all about battlecruiser, big guys, putting your auras on a big guy, like leveling up a creature to be big, ramping into Giant Eldrazi, extremely slow, extremely hostile to aggro. Nearly impossible to make an aggro deck in this format. And players love that. It was just very different from other sets. It's just all about going slow and building up to some huge bomb over and over, because there's bombs all the way down to common.
Wow. All right. I mean, that's not a typical limited experience, but...
It's not. And again, longtime players will call this an all-timer draft experience. So just for Jake, we have some pretty sick one-drops, despite being hostile to aggro, and maybe you can tell that we're hostile to aggro because Forked Bolt is here.
Fun fact about Forked Bolt, there are no printings with the correct Oracle text.
Things Jake knows.
I'd love to keep this card, but someday they'll print a correct Oracle text version of this.
Well, if you just take all the Planeswalkers out of your cube, this is the correct version.
Yeah, I won't be doing that. But, yeah. Oust, though, such a cool card.
Yeah.
I think Oust is cooler every time I read it. I used to, I went from thinking this card was kind of unremarkable to now I'm like not keeping it just because I don't think I need like a third version of this card. I think it's like crazy good.
I think you should replace Swords with Oust. That's my hot take.
No, but I see why you think that.
Inquisition, an all-timer.
Yeah, I love this card. 3 or less. It's kind of like the rules are what you were supposed to do anyway. A lot of the time.
That's funny.
Like relative to taking anything, I think more often than not, unless something's crazy, right? You're supposed to take the cheap spell to take them off of whatever their plan is.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think this feels more fair to have cast against you. And then Mortician Beetle is a card I've never seen before.
Really?
This is very clean.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever a player sacrifices a creature, wow. I like that this works with edicts. I like that you can do that. Yeah, that card rocks. Great choice.
Fun fact about Mortician Beetle, it got reprinted at a lower rarity in Modern Masters 3. Guess that rarity.
Common.
Common. This card has existed at 2 rarities, and neither of them is uncommon.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably fair. It's like that doesn't your opponent doesn't actually do that frequently.
Well, yeah, it's supposed to work with edicts. It's just like a just-in-case thing.
Yeah. And then Pawn of Ulamog is a card I am actually familiar with from my brief 5-game foray into EDH.
Oh, yeah?
This was in my Corvold deck that I thought I was very good at playing EDH with until I realized many years later that Corvold is just correct.
That's correct.
But I found this in like a store bulk bin or something. I don't know. It did work.
Yeah, I bet. All right. Cool for cubes. Gideon Jura used to be in tons of cubes, and it is in not a lot of cubes now. I think it is still really cool. Every time an opponent plays this against me, I have a bad time. This is so good against every single thing I like to do in Magic.
I totally agree. 6 loyalty is a ton. And sometimes just being an 8 loyalty thing they have to try to attack down every turn is going to get you there.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think this card's really cool.
You're right.
I think there's a certain charm to it as a design.
Mm-hmm.
Like it asks you to do a little bit more to get value out of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting too that the 0 is above the -2. They don't usually do that anymore, right?
That's true. This is also, I mean, they're still kind of experimenting with Planeswalker templates. In this block, we get the first ever 4 loyalty Planeswalker, Mind Sculptor. Then we get, this is the first Planeswalker without an ultimate, like without a huge ability that costs more than he starts with. And we will soon get the first Planeswalker with no positive abilities whatsoever. So they're at this stage, we've got our Planeswalkers. They are a known card type. Let's see how weird we can get with it.
I mean, I'm a huge Planeswalker fan, and I think the fact that this card doesn't have an ultimate is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
I think it can't even affect the board without spending loyalty.
This is kind of a precursor to your favorite, Wandering Emperor.
It's got some similarities, that's true. It does have the same -2 and no ultimate. So I can see that.
Mm-hmm.
I can see the similarity.
Suffer the Past is a card that I had in my budget cube for a long time, and it was a fun surprise fireball for black.
This kind of feels like it should see more cube play than it does.
I think so too. It always catches people off guard, and it's like pretty good.
Yeah, instant speed grave hate in the era of escape titans. I feel like every cube has stuff coming back from the graveyard. This just kind of answers that really cleanly.
I think the escape card just does this much more efficiently.
Cling to dust. Yeah, that's true, but there are a lot of cubes where I don't actually think you want Cling to Dust just kicking around. But that's a fair point. That's a fair point.
I like it. You've already appreciated Virulent Swipe from my earlier picture.
Yes. Such a cool card. I just think Rebound it's fun. Right, in the same way that we were talking earlier about how I love when a card like asks you to do something kind of crazy and you don't even know what it's asking you, but it's like find out, right? You're like, play with this card, find out with it because it's so cool. Rebound, it's just sort of like, wow, I get to cast this spell 2 times? Like, it just feels so good as a player.
I'm sure it's a difference of rarity, but getting +2/+0 in Death Touch twice is worth a lot more than black. And dealing 2 damage to any target is worth a lot less than 2 red. So that's kind of a funny...
Yeah.
I've always wondered about that.
I do think the situational aspect of your own swipe is irrelevant to that. Like, that is going to clear the way for one of your attackers, a couple of times. But the rebound of it, like, there's a lot of ways to just, like, deny that altogether. Mm-hmm. And in fact, the first mode can be denied, turning it all the way off. Right? And that's true with Stagger Shock too, but I do think that like black +2/+0 and death touch until end of turn would not really be a card.
Right, yeah, I agree.
Whereas like shock is obviously a card.
But you wouldn't play shock
So
for two,
two
right?
shocks. No, but two shocks for that is
Yeah, the coolest thing about Stagger Shock, I think, or one of the cooler elements of it, is that if you shock one of their only creatures, they know it's coming back, so they don't want to play another small creature. So it can kind of like do this mental throw them off tempo game, where then you just shock their face, and they also didn't play a blocker.
yeah. I also love how rebound works with double spell cards. Like I think that's
Yeah,
very cool.
yeah.
Like I know the Clarion Spirits of the world are far away from this, but it is really cool to stagger shock, and then next turn you only have to cast one spell.
Mm-hmm. Very true.
Yeah.
Okay. Cube staple. So Emrakul was at the very front of the show. Ulamog and Kozilek are also here. These are pretty iconic, and they got them really right, like first try. These remain staples in cubes and Commander and many formats that they're legal. Their triggers are pretty unique to them, and they're kind of like infamous. Very impressive set of legends to design at this stage.
I can't deny that they're iconic. I can say that I think Annihilator might be one of the least fun mechanics to lose to in all Magic.
I don't disagree.
Like now, and I've heard people say before, right, that Annihilator really does capture the feeling of like a intergalactic titan just like ruining your entire world when they attack you. But maybe that's not the most fun thing to port into the real life feeling of playing the game. That said, I think usually you're only playing these environments where that's pretty fair game.
Mm-hmm. Like sneak attack.
Yeah. And I actually really like Kozilek out of these three, which I think is an unpopular choice.
What is the cheapest one?
Yeah, I don't even know if it's about being cheap. I think it's just like I don't know, there's something kind of cool about it. I feel like Kozilek's the underdog, the dark horse of the Eldrazi Titans.
I agree in both sets of their legends.
You mean all three sets?
I don't even know what the third Kozilek does, so.
Yeah, I don't either.
So
but
I guess yes. I guess in all three then.
I don't know. There's something. Maybe I like Kozilek because he feels like an underdog to me.
Yeah.
Like I feel like Ulamog and Emrakul are way more popular, and Kozilek's just kind of like there.
Yeah.
But there's something charming about that.
Okay, Student Warfare, and I guess we can also hit Derogatory Speaker, the two level up cards.
I think it's kind of wild that they sort of invented this level up template after Lorwyn, right? So they said, all right, like Figure of Destiny. It's kind of annoying that you don't know what the stats are. Training indicators.
Well,
yeah.
After that,
Nailed it.
After Destiny, they had to figure it out.
Right. So they figured it out. They just like don't do this anymore. They're like, yeah, that was a mistake. We actually really liked it when you couldn't tell. And I feel like that's what all the modern versions of the card do. Whereas I think Level Up is actually very clean and understandable.
And Splinter Twin, the legend itself. This is printed shortly after Pestermite, but they are not in standard together at the same time.
Can I tell you my favorite Splinter Twin story of all time?
Please.
So we were drafting friend of the show, Joe's Anarchy Cube at CubeCon 2. And so it's myself, it's a team draft. It's myself and Joe's friend Brandon and a third person whose name escapes me, but was on our team. And so they show me their pool at the end of this, and we were like, this is not a great pool. Like it's sort of like a lands deck, but it doesn't like have fetch lands or like a lot of things to do, and it's like sort of splashing red for like nothing. And so we're struggling to make playables, and we're like, you got Pestermite and Splinter Twin, like you might as well stick these in your deck, and like we'll see if we can get them. And so during the first round, Joe's friend gets beat by Splinter Twin and neglects to tell Joe this like sort of dumpy blue-green lance deck has like a secret Splinter Twin in it. So good. Joe, in the middle of round 2, gets Splinter Twinned, and it's like, dude, why didn't you tell me there's a Splinter Twin instead? This is round two. And it's like 3 in the morning, so we were all laughing really hard. But that's my favorite thing that I've ever seen Splinter Twin do. Is like so yeah, he won 2 games off of this like janky Splinter Twin splash and otherwise like pretty bad blue green deck. And if you happen to be listening to this, my friend, it was a great time playing with you. It just wasn't the best deck.
That's so funny.
And I still think about that to this day. Joe was so distraught when he got Splinter turned out in round 2, not knowing that his opponent had and was even more distraught when he found out that in fact the round 1 opponent did lose to Splinter Twin.
I can imagine. My favorite use for Splinter Twin in my Museum of Modern is I will do like a red blue fairies deck, and if they have already gotten rid of Pestermite or I don't have any way to get Pestermite back, you can put Splinter Twin on Spellstutter Sprite, and it's just like a soft lock.
That's it's like top counterbalance, but cool.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's fair. I forgot we had already talked about Derogatory Speaker, which I also really like as a card.
We have a little bit. We haven't covered extensively. If there's something you want to add.
No, I think this plays really uniquely amongst. Do you like this card? That's really what I want to know.
No, I don't. I know a lot of people play it like it's a Soul Ring.
I think that's an overrated statement. People are like, this is a green Soul Ring, and I'm like, kind of, but there's a lot of differences, including not being able to play a 4-drop on turn 2. I was just curious because I know in the Noble Hierarch to Elvish Mystic scale, you really only like the Hierarchs.
It's true.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
And I wasn't sure if the fact that this wasn't turn 2 acceleration was exciting to you.
No, I don't like this card.
Fair enough. I was just curious.
Yeah. Okay. Personal favorites. So I like Soul's Attendant. I also like Soul Warden. I played the Soul Sisters decks that use 8 copies of that effect total for a long time in Modern and other formats. I like little weird Aristocrats decks. I had a white-black one that was called Dead Sisters that was all about getting your creatures back from the graveyard, triggering their Inner's Trek effects over and over, and then whenever they would die, Blood Artist and Zulaport Cutthroat would trigger the Leaves triggers and all that. Just whole trigger festival. And I actually really like her flavor text, despite it being depressing.
I was actually reading it as you were telling me these things, and I think that is really cool. This tells you a lot about a world. It shows you a lot about a world, rather.
Yeah. Devastating Summons, one of the best things I could do in my kids deck for 1 mana. Especially if you have the mana to float and cast Bushwhacker.
That makes sense. Another card that's evocative. I think sacrificing lands is inherently cool. I think any deck that's doing something that if you described the rules to a player and were like, some cards let you do this, and they would say, yeah, I can't imagine you'd want to do that, but you do, that's cool.
Yeah. They learn that fetch lands are actually good, even though even though you're losing life. And then you explain this to them and they say, oh, is this really good too? And you go, no, but it's pretty cool.
No, actually, it isn't, but it could be. And the art is great.
It's a lot cooler than it is good, I'll tell you that. Also, Flame Slash, again, in my all 1-drops deck, one of the best ways I could answer my opponent's more than 1 mana things that they would put down and get my way.
Yeah, I think I'm maybe notoriously anti-Flame Slash, which I've been told is unfair. I just think this is a cube thing, right? I don't have a problem with the existence of the card in general.
Sure.
But it's kind of twofold. I think sometimes cube designers say both, man, it's really cool when red can deal 4 damage because then it can deal with 4 damage creatures it can't usually deal with, and these 4 toughness creatures are really good because red can't deal with them. I think you kind of have to pick one. You need to decide at what mana value red should be able to do that, and I think 1 is often the wrong choice for that.
Interesting.
I just think also I like when Lightning Bolt is the best thing red is doing in a kind of an uncontested 1 mana way. It's just such an iconic card, and Flame Slash being sorcery speed and better in some instances just feels like Lightning Bolt's supposed to be ubiquitous in its potency. I don't know.
Interesting.
This isn't a well thought out thing. I expect people are gonna tell me that that's not reasonable. Well, it's just fair.
I would much rather see Flame Slash alongside Bolt than Shock or Lightning Strike or any of the other redundant effects that are worse than Bolt.
I think that's totally fair. And this is probably God, what was the card we talked about last time that people got mad at me for my opinion on? It was the Plague Wind discussion.
Yeah.
This is my Plague Wind this time. I don't necessarily think my point on this is reasonable. It's just how I feel.
Just how you feel. And finally, Vengevine. I did not play this card at all at the time. It was very expensive, and it continued to be expensive for a long time. But I just think this design is so neat, and I've tried to put it in cubes where it doesn't really work many times. The most effective Vengevine I've ever played with is in Vintage with Bizarre Baghdad, Hollow One, Root Wallows, which is kind of a famous effect there. But there's a modern deck at one point called Crabvine that uses Hedron Crabs to mill yourself quickly and then play small creatures like Hedron Crab or at one point Hogak in Modern to get back your Vengevines out of the graveyard. And I just think it's such a neat design. It feels extremely fair in the casting cost. Like this, sure, this is what you should get for 2GG. And then it oscillates between wildly unfair and completely useless when you're top decking in the graveyard, which I think is, it's interesting. This is what I think a mythic should be like.
I love this card so much. This is probably top 10 cards that I'd like a cube home for. I just think it's so evocative, right? In exactly the same way we were talking about some of those other cards. When you see this card, you just think, all right, 4/3 haste for 4, like that's pretty good, right? Like we're gonna get some damage, and then you're just like, whoa! If I cast 2 spells that are creatures this turn, I get it for free. Like that's insane.
Mm-hmm.
It asks you to do something so evocative so quickly, but not in a really pandering way either, and it doesn't help you do that, right? It doesn't help you put it in the graveyard, and it doesn't help you cast that second spell.
Yep, it says figured out, and I
Love
will
it.
reward you. Fun facts about the set. So we have some firsts. Sponsire Ulamog is the first card with 20 colon in the rules text.
I hate this. The art's good. It's very disturbing.
Yes, I agree.
Like that tentacle and like weird hand foot is weird. I hate that.
Good. How do you feel about the effect?
Oh, it's had to be like a kitchen table all star, right? Like
Yeah,
you
you
just
just
like
dump
put
your
like
trade binder on.
800. You just like take a stack of Eldrazi and slam them on the ground.
Yeah, exactly.
That's pretty cool, and I cards like that are awesome.
Colony Hydra is the first card to have this many consecutive same mana symbols. And if you don't count Big Furry Monster from one of the unsets, this is still the card with the most same mana symbols.
8 pips, all the same.
So like Progenitus obviously has 10 pips, but no, they're not the same pips.
Yeah, I think it's super interesting that with 8 green creatures, this is a 0 mana card.
Right?
That's so cool. I like it.
Very neat card. This is the all minus Planeswalker that I referenced earlier. No positive abilities on Sarkhan the Mad.
I forgot about this card.
He's cool.
Bob make dragons, and this is really just Minsk and Boo, but from 2010.
Yeah.
Think about it.
I occasionally would turn goblins into dragons with this card.
Which is sweet. And all minus is a cool Planeswalker design.
In an extreme pinch, you can turn an enemy Eldrazi into a dragon.
Yeah, it's true. You change their Emrakul into a 5/5 dragon. You think that's a lot better.
Yep, not going to die as fast.
I don't sack 6 lands when this attacks me, so...
And here we have the first printing of Evolving Wilds.
What a classic card.
Right after the landfall set. 2 landfall sets in a row. They don't print Evolving Wilds. They have the fetch lands at rare, no Evolving Wilds effect at common. And then we get Rise of the Eldrazi, which ditches landfall, and they give us Evolving Wilds at common. So you could do the double landfall thing easily in standard, but you couldn't do it in limited. And then obviously every Zendikar set after this, every set that includes any land theme, puts this effect at common now.
That is an awesome fun fact.
Yeah.
Because I knew this was from Zendikar, but I didn't realize it was from the only non-landfall Zendikar piece.
Right? Also, this is not the first card with this exact text box. It's just the first card with this name.
Right, because Terramorphic Expanse
Bingo.
existed before.
From Time Spiral. But my theory is players could not pronounce Terramorphic Expanse, so they gave us Evolving Wilds.
Interesting. You don't think it was because Commander came up that thought it'd be good to have a second one of these?
No, I do not.
I think that's really possible. But no, I mean, I think your theory is very possible. That's what I was saying.
Oh, sure. here we are. We arrived at the Times Traveling Sponsors portion of the episode. Did you have a MySpace
No.
before your time?
So many, not truly,
Oh, okay.
right? So my parents were very reticent on the social media train. Like a lot of my classmates had a MySpace.
Oh, okay.
At this point in time, I did have Facebook. So it already,
Oh,
I think
wow.
it kicked in at that point. Because I think I got a Facebook in 2009. We viewed MySpace as pretty dead in high school at
Wow,
this point.
yeah.
But I'm aware of MySpace.
It was extremely
Yeah.
popular in my high school experience, so I am not surprised to hear that it was dead in your high school experience years later. This is the year that MySpace is eclipsed by Facebook in popularity officially, and it gets a new logo, and this is the last year that many of the founders still work for MySpace. It starts getting kind of stripped for parts at this point.
That checks out. It was big in my middle school experience. I just didn't have one.
Yeah,
And so that
that makes sense.
lines up roughly with you. Yeah.
And then I'm sure I've talked about it to you at various points, but what do you know about Hastings?
Nothing.
Okay, I'm going to show you the outside of a Hastings.
Okay. No. Did you work here?
I did.
Okay, then I did know that. This is like a Blockbuster bookstore that sells music.
Yes, this is like a music store which also contains within it a Barnes and Noble and a Blockbuster. And
Okay.
this is the job that I desperately wanted because this was the coolest place in my college town. I desperately wanted this job as soon as I got here. I interviewed and I was declined, so I had to go work at a call center for one summer. And then in October of 2010, I tried again. I went to a second interview and I got the job that time. And I was really good at the job, so they were flabbergasted that they had passed me up the first time. Hastings was in the same shopping center as the movie theater where my girlfriend worked. And so that like area of town was just like a huge formative part of my college life.
Yeah, that sounds awesome to be working that close so you guys can hang out during breaks and stuff. Like that sounds very cool.
Yep. I worked in the video game section, which was called Lifestyles, which is also where music was sold from, and like there's like a Spencer's Hot Topic style selection of apparel in the back, and like gag gifts, and trading card games and board games. So I got a lot of Magic product at a discount. I would eventually start hosting Magic events at Hastings, which is going to be very big in the near future.
Did they have like local game store style tables here? Play board games and
So
stuff?
they had that coffee section. They had a section where you could sit with coffee and read a magazine. If you've been to like Barnes and Noble's sections where they have like tables in front of the magazine racks where you can just sit and read magazines, it's like that.
Yeah, I mean, I've been to many a bookstore that has a cafe attached to it.
This cafe was much smaller and worse than you're imagining, but it had little tables in the area with the magazines, and there were larger tables in the back that we could bring out for events.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
So this is sort of your introduction to a local game store.
Mm-hmm. And this was my dream job at the time, and I loved working here for years and years and years. This will be a recurring theme in the near future, I'm sure.
Very cool.
Okay, so here we are at the core set of 2010, which is called, of course, 2011 core set. Core sets don't usually have mechanic themes at this point in time. This is the first time that Scry is evergreen and is put into a regular place that is not Mirrodin, that is just appearing as a regular effect on cards. This is also the first appearance of Planeswalker emblems. All right, so let's get into it. Just for Jake, no red cards this time. Johnny's Pridemate strikes me as a card that could be pretty powerful in the types of aristocrat decks that you like to play.
Yeah, I liked this card in the kitchen table space, right? Because it got a reprint in War of the Spark, which was still in print when I started playing Magic.
Mm-hmm.
We actually bought a fair bit of War of the Spark. I like this card, and I do think it's a quintessential... It's a really good card to teach new players the lesson that Like, you got to do something with this life that you're gaining to win the game.
Yeah, true.
And I like that a lot. I think Giant's Primate's a cool card. Interesting as an Aristocrat's payoff. I haven't really used it in that context, but I could see it being very interesting as a different sort of lateral payoff for that.
Yeah, this is one of my actual ways to win with the Dead Sisters deck. That I doing something with all the many triggers I was getting. And then I associate you with Knights for some reason.
Interestingly, and I guess, spoilers for a very far away episode, but I really liked Knights when I first started playing Magic. Like, I had a Knights kitchen table deck I was very fond of. That's why I love Sir Conrad the Grim. These are Eldraine Knights, mind you. But this, I mean, you could tell me that this card is on Eldraine. I would believe you. I know Eldraine didn't exist conceptually, but a 2/2 first strike, it just makes them indestructible.
Yeah.
I thought that said when you attack.
No.
Like, as I was parsing it, I was like, this is while you're attacking. No, so this is just a brawler that says, yeah, your knights aren't dying, and they're big.
If you play a second one, or a clone, then you're covered. All your knights are indestructible, including itself.
I feel like this could be a sweet Midwinter card.
Yeah, it's neat, right? Because in Midwinter, you also have like -X, -X effects. So you have ways to answer indestructible.
Yes, because Toski exists, and so we need to be able to deal with that. Yeah. But yeah, you're right. There are -X, -X effects they can deal with it, but like, that's such an evocative card. Like, again, just so many good examples there, right? Like, you see this card and you think, whoa, I put it on my deck, and they're bigger and they're indestructible.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that just feels like you're getting away with something.
Okay. Grave Titan and Viscera Seer are cards that I know that you know already, are a fan of already to some degree. Grave Titan I bring up here because my first cube was a budget cube. I could not get a Grave Titan for less than $5, any printing, any kind, for, I don't know, until, like, I'm looking at MTG stocks right now. Gonna find out. I'm gonna give you...
Could you ever? Like, can you get a Grave Titan for less than $5 right now?
You can now. But you could not until Foundations.
Wait. I didn't know this card was in Foundations.
It's not.
It's just it's crashed out.
I'm just telling you the time. That's the time that they printed enough copies of it that you could finally get it for less than $5.
That's insane. I mean, to be fair, this card is evocative and incredibly popular.
It was in Commander Aetherdrift, and that copy is like 88 cents. So I'm gonna guess they may have something to do with it.
Oh, but that art is so cool. That's the Amonkhet one, right?
Yeah, that is. It has like the freaky.
They reprinted all the Amonkhet zombies there. Love that one. I mean, frankly, I don't think there are bad Grave Titan arts. There's like 7 really good Grave Titan arts. Yeah, I mean, I love this card. I think it's my favorite use of Death Touch ever.
Oh, really?
Like, yeah, so here's the thing. Like, I know Death Touch is really popular, especially limited in like your little 1/1 dinky guys. But like, those are like blockers, fundamentally. What I like about Grave Titan having Death Touch is that it says, like, yeah, you're not gonna just like trade for me in a bad way. Like, you're 4/4 and 5/5. You're not trading your 5/5 for Grave Titan. Like, he's Grave Titan. Like, it's gonna kill both of them.
I'm taking everything with
Everything that this touches is dying, and it's leaving zombies behind. And I think that Death Touch on big creatures makes that sort of like trading much harder in a way that can be compelling. Now, I understand Grave Titan has like 7 other upsides associated with it. Like, at the point where it's attacking that way, you're have made 8/8 in stats across your 4 zombies that are kicking around.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this is a really cool use of Death Touch. I love Death Touch as a mechanic that makes attacks really good, as opposed to making blocking better.
Yeah.
Like, this is where it sort of serves as not evasion, but disincentivizing your opponent to block.
And here we have the first printing of Viscera Seer, a type of aristocrat they do not play anymore, print anymore.
That's not really true, though, right? Like, we got Umbral Color Zealot 1 set ago.
Can it sack itself?
Can Umbral Color Zealot sack itself? That is a really interesting question. That's what you meant?
No, it cannot.
Umbral Color Zealot, no. Umbral Color Zealot cannot sack itself.
Bingo.
Which I actually think is really important, because I think that's really good design so that exile spells can, like, give you some ability to disrupt this. Like Woe Strider is a card I think is really important. That Woe Strider can't sack itself, so you can't just like keep bringing it back every time they try to exile it.
Mm-hmm.
I thought you just meant like free sack outlets at this, and I was like, well, they sort of just did that.
Well,
But
we don't get those often, but this kind specifically is just like this. It is very much a dated thing to let it sack anything at instant speed for free, including itself.
I like Viscerous here, but I think Carrion Feeder is cooler.
Sure.
That's my hot take, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I like
But
Can't Block better.
yeah, although I mean, Vampire Wizard is a cool type line.
That's true.
So Zombie, but
2 types are better than 1. Okay. Cool for cubes. Brittle Effigy was primo removal in my budget cube for a long time.
that's incredible. Like, no notes.
Yep.
If that being a premium removal is incredible.
Yep. Gaia's Revenge is a card that frustrated me for a long time. We have hexproof in its early stages at this time, but this is in a whole different ballpark of even you, the controller, can't target it with things that are not green. Nobody can target this except with green, and this is before fight exists. Not yet. I think we're
close,
probably getting close because we have Avengers Zendikar, we have Gaia's Revenge.
So you describing this card to me, just I felt pieces of it, and I know we haven't checked in on that for a couple of years, but this is the first time I've sort of been prompted just by your natural reaction to a card to ask you, like, even Avengers Zendikar, you were like, this card's pretty cool. Like this one, you're like, man, this card frustrated me.
Yeah, we're getting close.
Crazy art.
Yeah, very cool art.
It reminds me of the monster from the Pokemon Celebi movie.
Oh, wow. Deep cut.
But I think that's the second time I've said this about a Magic card in this series of videos. But nonetheless, it does. Yeah, this card looks deeply frustrating to play against. Though, I have some affinity for green cards like this that demand that you play Green's game. Like, this has put 5 power in front of me, and I will not be here anymore. Mm-hmm. But if you can't do that, you're gonna die.
For what it's worth, as frustrating as it was for me to play against, I love that this was brutal for control players to play against.
I think that makes sense.
They can't counter it, they can't terror it, and it has haste. So they can wrath it a turn later after they've taken 8.
Right. I think this is green. I don't know, Magic, right? All the colors are trying to make the game about the things that make them the best. And I think this is Green's version. Like, this is Green's big flash control finisher, right? Like, Blue likes that because it can make the game about playing at instant speed, which it's the best at. Green likes this because it says, yeah, beat this 8-5 in combat, or you aren't going to win the game.
Super cool. And yeah, fantastic art. Garruk's Pack Leader, or Garruk's. Power 3 or greater is a little bit of an easier hurdle than 4 or greater. Although, keep in mind that we are literally power creeping over the course of the game, and that this is much easier to trigger these days.
That's true. I do think that it shifted from 3 to 4 over time is really interesting, and makes me wonder if, like, 5's coming.
Well, we had 5 in Naya, in Alara. It was difficult to trigger, so.
I think of 4 as being the modal version of this across time, like in terms of cards that I've seen, though, and I wonder if that's going to move up as time goes on.
That makes sense, maybe.
And then Obstinate Baloth is a classic.
Yeah, so this is a reference to Ravenous Baloth. Do you know that card?
I don't.
Ravenous Baloth is, for this exact same mana cost, you get the same exact stats, 4/4 beast for 2 GG, and it has the ability, sacrifice a beast, you gain 4 life. Because it is from Onslaught, damage use the stack, and it had a pretty similar outcome. You can brawl it with it in combat, and if it's going to die, sack it to gain 4 life. You'll always get to do the damage and get the life.
I didn't know they printed this card before Liliana of the Veil, which is the card that I actually think of it in reference to, because it's like the sideboard tech against that card.
Yeah, we're about a year early, but she's coming.
Yeah, that's super interesting. I just didn't know that was the order. I don't know. I think this card is interesting. Hosing the discard stuff is tough, but it's also like there's not that many versions of the effect that like do this.
Yeah, we did have Wiltleaf Liege in Shadowmoor with the same mana value 4, same 4/4/4 effect. So it just seems to be something that they like doing at that size, I guess.
Yeah, and I think like minus that whole like discard thing, like 4/4/4 that gains some life on ETB is just kind of like it's a good stabilizing presence for green.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, it's not backbreaking, but it's not like it's definitely still beatable, right? Like you can just like deal with this and move on, but it's a roadblock.
I think it's interesting that red is an ally of green in the color wheel, and that this is so effective against black and red.
That is a really interesting point.
And, not really good against blue, one of its actual enemies.
Yeah, Guy's Revenge. Now
Yeah, there you go. There's your blue answer.
That's an enemy aggro card.
Yeah, core sets do love to play up the color wheel and have color hosers and cards that are specifically good against their opponent's playstyles. So I wouldn't be surprised if these were explicitly, this is for black, this is for blue. Okay. Cube Staples, Squadron Hawk. I say this knowing full well that it does not work in Singleton, but I've seen so many people give you a packet of Squadron Hawks if you draft a single Squadron Hawk that I'm including it here honorarily.
And I think that that's a really cool basis. And I've always loved, since Sheepish It, Nadia's idea of cards that care about other copies being when you pick this, like, you skip your next X picks and end up with that many copies.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Just because I think the draft metagame there is very cool.
The Titans, of course, are in this set. Frost Titan is not in this slideshow and is the only one to not be in the slideshow. It is good. It is strong, especially for blue. Blue did not get on-rate creatures like that very often. But these ones are the real staying power creatures.
Yeah, I love all of the Titans. I think they're an incredibly iconic cycle. In some respects, I love that my Midwinter Cube is a place where Sun Titan and Frost Titan are premier creatures. And I mean, Prime Time's there too, and is also very strong.
Boo.
I don't currently have an Inferno Titan cube, but these are all really cool. I think they capture the imagination in a very cool, historic way. You definitely can't buy a Prime Time for under $5. I'm pretty sure they're all like 800. Yeah, just iconic cards. Great arts, usually all with multiple great arts. Frost Titan Proto Ward?
Yeah. The cheapest Primeval Titan is $5.30.
Yeah, and I think Frost Titan tapping down lands is kind of, I think, underrated. That happens sometimes, but yeah, I mean, I think they're all really cool.
The fact that it is not phrased, they have to pay more mana to target it. It is actually counter unless they pay 2. Is just actual ward. It's just not named ward.
Yes, exactly. It's ward, but the arena auto trigger does not stop you from casting a spell that you can't pay for. So this gets a lot of people in the arena cubes where it's present.
That's really funny.
But it's probably not a good thing, but it is pretty funny. And I love the Titans. And then Steel Overseer is a card that I also think is really cool.
Steel Overseer, I love the art of. I was very frustrated playing against the affinity decks that are going to come out in the next block, the very next set, in fact, with this card specifically. But I think the art's very cool.
Yeah, I think the art's really cool, and I think there is something very evocative about this card.
Okay. My personal favorites. So here's where all the red cards are. Chandra Spitfire. I was a huge Chandra stan. Loved every version of Chandra that we got, and this is one of the ones that is a cool payoff for playing with cards like that, because she would often have some pinging effect, usually to a player's face. And then you have a 4/3 flyer. And I would, of course, also have Lightning Bolt, Searing Blaze, which will also trigger Spitfire. So it was almost like a familiar to me that I would just throw in a bunch of decks because it complemented my playstyle. Reverberate is a nearly word-for-word printing of what card from Alpha?
I know the card you're talking about. The name has totally escaped me.
Fork. What does Fork do differently that this does not?
Do you have to choose a new target for the copy for Fork?
No. Fork makes the copy red.
Oh, that's really funny. I didn't know that.
The reason is that the way that Richard envisioned it working is that Fork becomes that card. And because you cast a red spell, he wanted it to remain red, even though it is whatever it is becoming. So it's kind of like a clone for a card on the stack. And then whenever they did the rules revisions, they were like, this just doesn't work. You can't choose targets because you've already cast it. So we're going to have to actually do some copying here.
That makes sense.
Inferno Titan, of course.
Inferno Titan's your favorite Titan?
Well, it's red. I like Sun Titan a lot, but it's hard to beat my favorite color on principle.
Okay. I mean, I think Inferno Titan's great. I think it's a very, very cool. Like I was saying, I sort of bemoan that I don't have a cube for Inferno Titan at the moment.
This is another... you can play Big Red Museum of Modern, and this is another amusing target for your Splinter Twin.
Oh, I mean that's sick. I definitely love that.
And then I played Jund, obviously, in Alara. I enjoyed that deck. And this is Mitotic Slime is basically a long lost card from the Jund card file. An ooze you can just keep eating, and it breaks into smaller things that you can keep eating.
Yeah, this is a classical representation of oozes in fantasy literature. In fact, maybe the best one I've seen.
Wow.
Just the fact that it splits multiple times is really iconic.
Yeah, it's really mitotic.
Yeah, I mean that's a fair point. Man, you just like recurring nightmare as
Please don't. Please don't recurring nightmare mitotic slime.
I mean, this game is never gonna end. There's like 8 billion tokens on the battlefield.
Oh, going back to Reverberate real quick. I play old school, and whenever you can't counter spells because you're playing red, one of the very funniest things you can do is reverberate them. So, like, if somebody's going to mind twist you for 6, you can just reverberate it back at them. Or if they time walk, you can just copy time walk, and basically the exact same thing occurs.
Those are both such funny interactions. Like the mind twist one's like even funnier because it's like, yeah, this game's gonna take a long time for it to like neither of us have hands. But I might have a jackal pup on the battlefield or whatever. That doesn't exist yet, does it?
So no, it doesn't. It's brass claw works or iron claw works.
Sure. We got some orcs and you got nothing, and now neither of us have a hand.
Yeah.
Carving time walk, and then just getting the same thing to happen is so funny. Like it's like, well, we're both taking an extra turn, which is kind of like no one taking an extra turn.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
All right. Fun facts about M11. So the ley lines first came out in Ravnica Block, in Guild Pack specifically. We talked about them then. This is the first appearance of Leyline of Sanctity. And this card would be my boogeyman for a long time. You're telling me I can't Lightning Bolt you at all, and I also can't remove this enchantment from the battlefield?
I think speaks to my problem with ley lines as a card type. Like, these cards are evocative in that they like trick you into thinking they're cool because you guys are on the battlefield, but they actually just suck.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm in.
the difference between drawing them and not drawing is like more stark than like basically any other. Like starting hand is like more different than like almost any other card ever. And like this card either like completely like torches your opponent or does stone cold nothing. Like you either like mulliganed or they mulliganed like 4 times.
Sarah Ascendant. This points to the fact that they did not know how popular Commander was going to be. Because at this point, when you're designing a card like Sarah Ascendant, you're like, why would you start with any life total other than 20? So, now this is an infamous Commander card because it's a turn 1 6/6 lifelink.
Is it good?
I mean, depends on the power level of pod, of course, but it can be extremely good.
Okay.
But yeah, so here we have the evidence that they would very quickly figure out Commander's popularity and begin saying 10 or more life than your starting life total on cards like this.
Yes, this is also a 2-headed giant 6/6 life.
That's very true. This is what you're supposed to be getting paid off for with your Soul Sisters. And I could not afford it for that purpose, so I never had one.
Yeah, it reminds me of, well, I say it reminds me of Righteous Valkyrie is the modern version
that
of this
card is a beast, especially with Coco.
Card notably not in Midwinter, despite being a Kitchen Tale favorite, because I think it's just completely messed up.
Yeah. Stormtide Leviathan.
Stormtide Leviathan.
This is another card that I just could not beat if it ever resolved. It's like, oh, my goblins can't attack, and I've probably spent my burn spells. And even if I Goblin Grenade that thing, I have to also Lightning Bolt it. And it's going to deal 8 damage to me every turn, and I can't even block it.
This was in my friend Justin's kitchen table deck, which was like really bad. It did have this creature, and if he did resolve that creature, it was like very tough to beat.
Mm-hmm.
But luckily the rest of the deck was so bad that didn't usually happen. But this really slowed down. This, you know what it was a menace in though? It was like 4-player free for all, no rules. Like we would just slam 4 decks down, and then like he'd play this, and we all just be like, it's gonna take him a lot of turns to kill everybody. Like what do we do?
Mm-hmm.
So this was an arch enemy card in our free for all games, where we would be like, can Justin, in 6 turns kill all of us, or Can we find one answer to this 8-8?
That's so funny. Hornet Sting. Many people suspect this card was printed in Planar Chaos or, much earlier. But no, this explicit color pie break was printed in M11 for some reason and has never been printed again.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. It does make me think like bees as a type that like a death touch creature or like a creature that like can fight something but like dies regardless. And the outcome would be like kind of interesting, but like I guess it'd have a similar color pie break problem where like that's just sort of a removal spell.
Exactly. Like you can make Doomblade or Fell with all of the words that green likes, like create a 1/1 insect token with Death Touch, it fights target creature. You can do all that. And you have achieved a non-green outcome, which Rosewater talks about
Right.
all the time. So like even Ambush Viper
Yeah.
is on the edge of being a color pie break.
No, the ambush viper defenders are so wrong. Like it's not even funny. Like I just that card. I understand that like theoretically all the pieces of it are in green's color pie, but that's like nuts to claim that that card is something we should see a lot of. Like I feel like if that card was grayscale, you'd assume it's black.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Like I mean, right? Like black, flash, death touch, black guy. Like that's just like a normal magic card.
Yep.
Anyway, Hornstein, cool.
Yep.
In the 1/1s cube, this is like green secretly has Source to Plowshares, but with no downside. Oh, this deals damage to players too, and planeswalkers, and they don't have an eroded version. Oh my god!
I do put this in Drake because it's so funny that you can kill a person with 2 Hornet Stings. Or because of
That is
Invigorate, you can sometimes get to an odd life total in Drake. So then people are like, why do you have Aerial Volley and then Hornet Sting, which is just almost always worse than Aerial Volley? And I was like, because Hornet Sting can kill players, and it's funny.
I like it.
Okay. Here we have another little break between products. From the Vault Relics. This is the third From the Vault set, and it was released with an MSRP of $34.99.
We don't have a reserve list yet.
Oh, that's the thing, buddy. We have a reserve list, and we've had it for a decade or more.
And we just reprint Mox Diamond here.
And these are all reserve list. All 4 of these cards are reserve list cards.
Wait, Masticore's on the reserve list. Wow.
Uh-huh. All of them are on the reserve list. And they had found a loophole that they could reprint cards in foil. And as soon as this product was released, people got mad, and they closed the loophole.
So you're saying they could have, for $34.99, reprinted like
I mean,
the Power 9
yeah,
in foil?
They wouldn't have, but they didn't feel that they would be breaking their promise if they did. Outright. Like I said, immediately after this, not immediately, but very soon after this, they revise it. They say, sorry, we know you're mad. We will not do this again. How much do you think Mox Diamond, this copy of Mox Diamond, is today?
The only foil version.
Mm-hmm. It's the only foil. It's the only modern frame version. It's the only one with this art.
$400.
Try 900.
Yeah, that's crazy. $34.99.
I never saw this product on any store shelf. I'm sure you're not surprised to hear that, but
yeah, that doesn't surprise me. I feel like, given like, even at the time, right? Like, I'm sure that this was like anyone who knew anything about Magic, who knew this product was coming, was like camping out at the store for when it would come out.
Yeah, getting as many copies as possible.
Well, I'm sure like this wasn't like a super like widely printed thing. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of store owners just were like,
I'm not putting that out.
yeah, like,
yeah.
like,
So this is something that technically
crazy.
happened during my year in 2010, and I was completely aloof to.
And so yeah, this could have been at the Hastings store and you didn't even know.
Yeah, would have got cleaned out. Okay, moving on to the last set of the year, Scars of Mirrodin. So,
Right, so we're going to Mirrodin.
Yeah, we're going to Mirrodin. We're going back to Mirrodin for the first time. There were some clues in the novelization of Mirrodin, the original Mirrodin, that there was some strange oil on Mirrodin. Also, in the Time Spiral story, Karn is one of the planeswalkers involved in closing up the rifts, and he goes to Mirrodin after the events of the Time Spiral story. And we just know that Karn goes to Mirrodin. That's the story. Well, in this story, Scars of Mirrodin, we learn that Karn, in the creation of Mirrodin, had tracked Phyrexian oil into Mirrodin. And so he creates Mirrodin, he creates Memnarch to be the guardian of Mirrodin, like the observer of it in his absence.
Mm-hmm.
And then Memnarch goes insane, the whole plot of Mirrodin occurs, and then Karn undoes Memnarch and leaves. He's just in and out of Mirrodin over the course of the years. But what he does, not knowing, is plant the seed of Phyrexia in Mirrodin, and then it is allowed to fester under the surface. Scars is where that comes to bear. Over the course of this block, it will get increasingly Phyrexian. It starts out 25% Phyrexian in this set, and 75% Mirren, then 50-50 in the next set, Mirrodin Besieged, and then the opposite, 75-25 in New Phyrexia. Do you know the mechanics of Scars of Mirrodin?
Do I know the mechanics of Scars of Mirrodin? Do we have Metalcraft?
Yes, we had Affinity in the first set, which was so broken it destroyed Standard, and they thought about bringing it back, proving that they could fix it, and they realized that if they missed the mark a second time, people would lose all faith in the game. So they said it is too dangerous to try fixing a mechanic that annihilated Standard. So let's just do fixed Affinity and call it Metalcraft.
Oh, well, I wish 2025 was like that. But now we have sets full of cards that are like, what if we took every mechanic that ruined Standard and we put them all in the same set at the same time? But they don't go to Standard, so they can't ruin it.
There you go. You can't destroy Standard.
But every other format. All right, so we've got Metalcraft. Do we have Battlecry?
Nope, that's the next set.
Okay, yep. That's what I thought. So no, I don't know the other ones.
The Phyrexian mechanic?
Does Phyrexian mana happen here?
No. That's not what the Phyrexian mechanic is.
No, that's not it. Oh, wait, is Infect?
It's Infect. It is the return of poison counters for the first time, not on a keyword called poisonous, or just simply spelled out, gets a poison counter. Infect is the first time we get a scaling number of poison counters with creatures' power. And the third mechanic is Proliferate. So the Mirrens use Proliferate to multiply their charge counters. A lot of cool charge counter stuff from this set. And the Phyrexians use it to proliferate -1/-1 counters from Infect, and poison counters on the opponent. Those are the three new mechanics. And finally, Imprint is a returning mechanic. Imprint is the returning Mirren secret weapon mechanic, because Imprint was extremely strong in the original block. And it is fine here. I don't think it's nearly as strong as Chrome Mox.
Chrome Mox, notable Standard
but
appropriate power level card.
We do get a Metalcraft Mox to supplement it.
Interesting. Okay.
Okay. So, just for Jake, what do you know about Elspeth Tyrell?
Well, what's kind of interesting is that this is her last name, but it's not her first Planeswalker card, which is somewhat atypical, I think.
That's true.
She has God's End already, though we haven't done Theros Block.
Right.
That's all I know.
Her lore, by the way, is that she goes from her homeworld, which is overrun by Phyrexians. She leaves after her family is killed, and she ends up on Bant.
Capenna.
She gets raised on Bant with sigils and such, and at some point goes to Theros, gets God's End, and goes back to Bant, and then to Mirrodin.
Okay, that makes sense. And she's from New Capenna, which was old Capenna at the time.
Yes,
but we don't know that at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
What do you think of the mechanics of Elspeth Tyrell?
I think any Elspeth that makes multiple, like 3/1 white soldier tokens is tricking you at some point. That is a big cost. This is probably the most reasonable Elspeth that makes 3 white soldier tokens I've ever seen. That's for sure. The 5 is pretty brutal. All permanents except for lands and tokens is pretty plague windy. Though I guess
can be.
You have to that takes a long time to activate though. Like you've got a -2 and then +2 twice and then -5. Yeah, it seems like this has some play to it.
Yeah, I think this card's very cool. Arctrail. Is there a correct Oracle printing of Arctrail, Jake?
Nope. There is in fact not. And this is such a cool card. Like, I really like the space here. I think Red Divided Burn is really fascinating. Like, this is incredibly punishing, don't get me wrong. Like, I wouldn't put this in a cube where you're not okay with getting people, but like, 2/1 split for 2 is like a really interesting lightning strike variant.
Yeah, I agree. I underrated it at the time.
But yet, no correct orbital text on this. And then I love Skinrender.
Skinrender, in the grand tradition of Flametongue Kavu, is that you cannot play it on an empty board or it will shoot itself.
Yeah, that part is really cool. I don't know. I think this card is sweet.
It also just looks like the
I love
Xenomorph.
the art. Yeah, it does. I love the art. I love that it's an uncommon.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
This was Ravenous Chupacabra, best we had for a long time.
Yeah, and I think, look, Ravenous Chupacabra is great and all, but I do think that this card is much cooler.
I agree. And Vincer, our hero, one of 3 heroes technically.
I tried to buy this card when I was first building my cube because I wanted a blank card, and it was like $20, so I was unwilling to do it.
Yeah.
But I don't know why this card was $20 in like 2020, but I like blinking.
Yeah. I think the -1 is very cool. I think the plus is also quite cool. It's always weird to me that he can target himself, but sure can.
Yeah, I also like that this just like can't protect itself. Also, the fact that minus works in 2-headed giant is sweet.
Yeah, that's very spicy.
Now I want to do that, but yeah, I like that this card just can't defend itself. Like, you need to be doing other stuff, but if you are, I guess it defends itself by just going to 5 loyalty, but like it's a 5 draw planeswalker. That's not what you want to do.
Well, this is if Teferi Hero Dominaria was cool. That's how you untap a land. You exile it and return it.
We'll have to agree to disagree on that one.
Also, the ult is much cooler than Teferi. You have to actually cast spells to exile permanents, not just draw cards, which happens every turn. Easy mode.
I'll give you that the emblem is cooler.
I'll take it. Okay. Cool for cubes. Have you seen Tempered Steel in mini cubes?
I haven't, but I see why this is so popular, or could be popular, like in the right cube. +2/+2 is a hell of an anthem.
Yeah, we don't have servos yet, but we do have mirror tokens and some Thopter.
Yeah, I have seen Shape Anew in a fair bit of cubes as sort of a tinker at home.
Yeah, I think this is so cool in the world of trinket tokens, where you can just have non-artifact creatures that bring an artifact with them, and the only artifacts in your deck are really strong. That's a much cooler tinker, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's like Indomitable Creativity, but also cooler because it like works in, well, I think better in limited. Let's not say cooler, but I think it's easier to build your deck such that you have like a couple big artifacts kicking around than it is to be like, well, you just don't run any creatures.
Also very funny that it is a good answer to Tinker.
Yes, that is really true. I don't really think I've seen this, cubed in a lot of places. I wonder if that's, just also sort of toes that line between like, it toes the fairness line enough that people are, wow, this only has 1 printing ever.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think this card's really cool. Like, I find this super evocative.
Yeah. I
love revealing cards on top of your deck.
I like it more than Tinker.
Yeah, I think I do too.
Necrotic Ooze. Agatha's Soul Cauldron at home.
I mean, this card's pretty sweet. Like, I, am a big fan of the Cauldron, but I think this is cool. Although this doesn't fix your colors to let you use them, which is rougher.
It's a commander effect, I think. Once we get to the era of commander, they're much more forgiving about letting you do the colors of your opponent's things.
That makes sense. And then Genesis Wave is a card that I have heard of.
Yeah, Lucky Paper did a whole bit on this.
Yes, and I had never heard of it before that. So
really? My goodness.
Yeah. So if you're listening to this, Andy, thanks for the spoiler. Just kidding.
We got so close to teaching Jake about Genesis Wave and hearing his live reaction on the
Yeah,
recording.
Exactly. If I simply hadn't got married and we recorded this a couple months ago, this is, I think, a really interesting card. I thought the episode did a good job highlighting. I love the art.
Yeah, the art's fantastic.
Do you think it's hard to fit into cubes in some respects? Like green X is tough, but like if you're doing some kind of live the dream thing, I think this is very cool.
For 5 green, I would rather see this than Crater Hoof 100 times out of 100.
Oh, same, but like that, yeah. But I never want to see Crater Hoof ever.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like the best games, yeah, like 100% of games are better if no one responds to greater of behemoth.
It's true. Okay. Cube staples. Galvanic Blast, which you just cut from your Bodleian.
Yes, although I think Metalcraft is a very cool mechanic, and I'm surprised we don't have more of it in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah. And then 3 artifacts. Scars of Mirrodin was really afraid of repeating the mistakes of original Mirrodin block, i.e., printing broken artifacts. But they were obligated to print some cool artifacts, so they did swing for the fences on a lot of designs.
Yeah, Wormcoil Engine is a card that I don't know how I feel about these days. Like, I think when I started playing Magic and cubing, it was sort of reviled for being like too good relative to Green's option in this space, but I don't think that's true anymore, which does make it a lot cooler. I don't know. I think Wormcoil Engine has got some iconic swag points.
This is the year of the 6/6 for 6.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting that it's printed the same year as the Titans. I hadn't really thought about that before. It brawls quite nicely with most of those.
Yep, you're happy to trade with any of the Titans and get yourself in split in 2 out of the deal. Do you know the price of Mox Opal?
Is it still legal in Modern? If so, it's like $200.
Correct. Legal and Modern, $180.
Yeah, that's insane. Do you consider this card a cube staple?
I don't. I used to, and it is in the current Arena Cube. I think it is so iconic that I needed to mention it, and this was the closest place I could mention it.
No, I think that makes sense. And frankly, Metalcraft as around a Mox is interesting. I think that you've got your real Moxen, and then you've got Diamond and Chrome Mox that are just still nuts. And then I feel like this card comes in at the can be nuts, but isn't you're not turn oneing this in most limited formats, right? Like that's kind of insane. Like unless you have artifact land bauble this, in which case like keeping a bauble around to make Mox Opal work is kind of like a Chrome Mox.
Yeah, true.
So I don't know. I think this is cool because realistically, I don't know. You're probably hoping to turn it on turn 2 at the soonest and turn 3 or 4 on average. I guess probably 3 in your deck, which is at that point you had to work harder than if it was a mana rock that cost 2, but it was also cost less. I think that's probably a reasonable trade. It's kind of crazy with Urza Saga specifically, but
Yeah. And Battlesphere, quite a cool tinker target. Also cool with sneak attack.
great shape a new target too.
Yeah, kind of silly art for this time.
I agree. I didn't know mirrors don't seem to silly to me on average, but they do in this card.
Yes, exactly.
I don't know why it's a dung beetle thing, but full of mirrors.
It could be just a riff on the fact that there was a cube full of mirrors in the first set, and now we have a sphere full of mirrors.
So this is a little bit memey, but it kind of ended up being iconic, and therefore
Yeah.
it's cool. But no, I mean I think Mirror Battlesphere is a cool card, right? I think it's pretty fair relative to what 7 mana asks you to do. It's powerful, but it's not unanswerable. And if you kill it, they still have the 4/1/1s, which is not what they wanted for 7 mana, but it's also not nothing.
Mm-hmm. Kind of like Avengers Zendikar. All right. My personal favorites. So, the Blackcleave Cliffs cycle is in this set. I particularly wanted explicitly Blackcleave Cliffs, both for my Black-Red Lorwyn Goblins deck and also for the Little Kids deck, which was all black and red cards. So this was my perfect turn 1 land. Could cast anything in the deck off of Blackcleave Cliffs. So huge fan of that card.
I mean, these are classics. Crazy that they're 90 cents now. But
yeah. Koth of the Hammer, I do wish he didn't care about explicitly Mountain. I enjoyed playing him in Standard in just Red Burn type decks. Very rarely would use his -2. Was pretty much exclusively doing +1 to attempt to get to the -5. But I thought that he was such a cool guy. And one of the first times I played D&D ever, I played a Genasi monk that was a stone elemental character that was based on Koth.
That's very cool. Koth is really cool. And I think this is an awesome design. I think this is probably undercubed as a card.
Probably. The new one definitely kind of seeks to fix the perceived flaws of Koth by giving you access to mountains, not demanding that you already have them.
Yeah, I mean, sure, but like I don't know. I think that like it's turn 4. You got 2 red mana. Like it's unless you're playing a desert cube, like yeah, in Giver Cube, this card's trash. Like I don't know, in a regular cube, I feel like you probably have a mountain by turn 4
Yeah, no,
to
I
make
think you
use of
probably have
these.
a mountain. It's just his other abilities really want you to have a lot of mountains.
Yeah, that's true. That the -2 is probably like less, impactful, and like he does kind of ask for this like cumulative +1 to be beating down. I think that's charming, and in a lot of cubes, I really like that it's not like making a 4/4 that sticks around, or that the land isn't just permanently there, like a Nissa.
Yeah,
Like this is a sort of decision you're making on a turn by turn basis. But also means your land can't get sorcery speed removed, which is also pretty cool. Yeah, I really like Koth.
I liked Kuldotha Rebirth a lot. At this time, there are no trinket tokens. It's just creature artifacts. So you
And there
don't really.
aren't indestructible. Oh no, this isn't that one.
No, yeah, you're thinking of the one that works with bridges.
The Phyrexian one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is really like find a mirror token or a perilous mirror or an artifact you don't care about, like Acre Wellspring, to crack open and get goblins out of. That being said, I do like this card a lot, and if I was forced to play Modern today, some version of 8 Kuldotha Rebirths and 8 Bushwhackers is what I would be playing.
Would you win any games with that deck?
I have tested it against some of my friends at the shop's Modern decks, and I occasionally take them by surprise. You can burst out a lot of damage. I also there was a version of this deck that was like tier 2 when Mox Opal was legal in Modern, called GoBots, Goblin Robots, and you would play Kuldotha Rebirth, Bushwhackers, and then also the affinity cards like Memnite and Ornithopter, and you would just burst damage out so quickly because you had Mox Opal. So you could ramp mana really fast, and then when you were done with it, you would either Shrapnel Blast with the Opal or turn on Galvanic Blast, and then you could also eat the Opal with Rebirth with mana provided by the Opal, which is pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Have you considered that you could put Goblin Bombardment in that deck today, along
No,
with Mox Opal?
that's pretty disgusting.
I mean, I don't think it's as disgusting as the other stuff going on, but like
Well,
if
yeah,
you're just like in this like burn deck situation, like Goblin Bombardment might be the new card. That's also an old card that is
yeah.
Goblin thematic.
I think anytime I get Goblin Bomberman into a deck, though, people are just going to ask why I'm not playing a Johnny.
Yeah, it's true, but then you tell them this because this is way cooler.
It's true. And then Golden Foundry. I like the charge counter decks. In Cade's Counters of Monte Cristo, my favorite archetype is what I call the Beautiful Machine, which is a bunch of charge counter things that are all just trying to build some goofy Rube Goldberg effect that ends with me taking like 10 game actions per turn. And this is one of the engines of that.
This is in Bolt Cube, right?
I have no idea.
I think it is.
That's pretty
This screams Bolt Cube to me.
cool. Yeah, I like it.
Very cool card.
Okay, and now fun facts about the set. Our final set of fun facts. You can see here Tunnel Ignis and Leonin Arbiter are here to punish the fetch lands, which have been added to standard.
That is really powerful.
Tunnel Ignis also, I had a brief modern deck called Heat Bears, which was mono red hate bears, and I had Tunnel Ignis in the sideboard for Scape Shift, because if they're going to try to Volakut me, if they do the Scape Shift and Volakut with Tunnel Ignis in play, they will get all their Volakut triggers on their turn, and then I will get all of my Ignis triggers, which will resolve first because it's their turn.
That is crazy.
Very bad card in every other scenario, but I thought it was funny.
Have you considered that Tezzeret Cool Crafton is pretty much just a copy paste of this card's art?
No, I hadn't. That is funny.
Like, I looked at it and I was like, this looks really familiar. And then I pulled it up and I was like, yeah.
Wow.
Like, this is so close. I know it's not exact, right? But it's like they're making the same face.
And they have similar hair.
Yeah. And a similar throne that they're sitting on with like a similar posture.
Leonin Arbiter is a member of many interesting decks involving Ghost Quarter, where it just becomes Strip Mine because they don't have 2 mana available. But it's kind of like you're taking 2 fair effects and putting them together to get an unfair outcome.
Yeah, synergy.
And this is kind of a Judge Nightmare because it gives the player a special anytime ability. So whenever you get a Judge call that's like, Judge, my opponent touched his library to begin searching and didn't pay 2 mana for Arbiter. Like, they can do that at any time. So, like, do you let them pay 2? Or because they touch their library, have they failed to pay the 2 and it is too late, which is a tricky position to be in.
That is, anytime does seem like a weird
Mm-hmm.
way of setting this up.
Glimmerpost, the second in the Cloudpost series of locusts. Much worse than Cloudpost.
Yeah. This colorless land just gains you some life. Eventually they were like, this Radiant Fountain card is just like Glimmerpost with 3 locusts by itself. Yeah.
Grand Architect, this is a blue Anthem creature. Not something that blue gets to do very often. It is also part of an infinite combo.
Let's see if we can figure it out. So we can target an artifact and make it blue for blue. Then we can tap an untapped blue creature we control and add 2. Spend its mana only to do that. So we need some kind of like artifact creature that can tap for blue mana or filter blue mana, and then we just generate infinite mana.
It is infinite mana, but it is a creature, an artifact creature that untaps to produce mana, named Pilipala.
Oh,
You know Pilipala?
nope.
Okay, it's a flying scarecrow from Shadowmoor, and it has 2 untap, add 1 mana of any color. So you make it blue, you tap it to add 2 mana, which can only be spent to activate abilities of artifacts. It uses its own mana to untap itself and add 1 mana of any color, and you can repeat that indefinitely.
Now that's soul cauldroning. Just
Yeah,
put both of those abilities
there you go.
onto a creature and just go crazy.
What's funny is that if you put it on a non-artifact creature, though, that creature will have those abilities but can't use the mana because it's not an artifact source.
Yeah, that's true.
Because
That
you
is
can
true.
make artifacts blue, but you can't make blue creatures artifacts. Speaking of combos, Mirror Galvanizer was very popular right when it came out because A, before this card there was no reason to play a deck of all mirrors except as, a style choice. But B, if you get 2 Mirror Galvanizers and 1 Palladium Mirror, which produces 2 mana, you can untap all your mirrors forever.
More importantly, though, are mirrors like bird people? Like, is it a beak that they've got going on?
It is like a metallic beak, yes.
Okay, because it's their heads are in such different positions in all the different cards. It's really hard to tell what's like. I assume the guy on the left of Mirror Galvanizer is like a normal mirror, and they're like the metal bird people.
Yep.
Okay, but this front one, right? You could see how it's the head could just be the angle its head's at.
Yeah.
And
It's important to note that the big circles are behind their eyes. Their eyes are the little slit right in front of the circle. They do not have big circular eyes. They have big circles behind their eyes.
I wouldn't have guessed that.
Kind of like a toad. They have those pads on the back of their heads.
Oh, okay. Well, that definitely makes them weirder, and I like that. Because they're not just metal toucans.
And then Platinum Empyrean is a riff on Platinum Angel. It is the only card in the game with the rules text it has. Can you recite the rules text?
It's indestructible.
Nope.
Then no.
It's an 8/8 for 8 with the text, your life total can't change.
Oh, but it's not indestructible.
It is not indestructible. And also, you can't pay life for effects if it's in play. So you can't activate fetch lands. Your life total can't change. And it has all kinds of rulings just for itself because no other card does what it does.
But you can still draw cards off Dark Confidant.
Yes. That's fine.
Because that just stops the trigger from causing you to lose life.
You still take poison counters. And they still get lifelink. The damage that is dealt as a result of the damage is damage that is dealt, so they get that much life, but your life total just doesn't change. Pretty bizarre card.
It's super bizarre, but the art is incredible. I wonder if that was the inspiration aesthetically for the last season of The Legend of Korra.
Interesting.
The giant platinum robot at the end. I know it's not exactly the same, but it does have some sort of vibes.
Sure. To me, it looks like Onslaught from X-Men comics. And
Unfamiliar, personally.
Yeah, there's probably just kind of these type of guys in the zeitgeist that maybe Korra has also drawn
That could
from.
be.
Okay. Which means we've reached the deck tech portion of the evening. What do you know about Doomsday in Constructed?
I mean, it's still a deck to this day. I don't know what the origin like the original deck is, I think Doomsday is one of the coolest Magic cards. Like, I'm not usually into like combo style decks, but I think Doomsday might be one of the coolest combo cards that there is. This one's really cool in that it doesn't, like this deck in particular doesn't seem to be trying to deck itself. It seems to be trying to use Shelldock to Emrakul the opponent, which is pretty
Correct.
rad.
I knew you'd like that.
Uh, and like not a huge like I don't. That's a cool way to annihilate or someone, and like a really cool way to win with Doomsday.
And importantly, this is long before Labman, long before Thoracle, which you said with the deck itself thing. Like, if you were having to win with Doomsday, you had to do it with those 5 cards, and you had to figure it out quick. So can you recite what the Doomsday pile is? Do you even want to attempt to say what the 5 cards are?
I'm assuming so. Shelldock looks at 4,
Mhm.
and I think we need that to be on top. So I'm assuming Shelldock goes on top. So Emrakul has to be in. There are a couple cards I don't recognize here, which makes me dubious of my ability to do the rest of it. Because, like, can you hover? What does Cloud of Fairies do?
Cloud of Fairies is a 2-mana 1/1 that untaps 2 lands when it enters the battlefield.
I mean, that's it, right? Like, so you're, like, essentially, you're trying to put Shelldock into play, and then Cloud of Fairies to untap it immediately with a blue source, and then immediately cast Emrakul. And then you still have 2 draw steps left?
I'll show you. Here's the pile. So you're going to brainstorm first. Your top card is brainstorm. And you're going to brainstorm to end up with Cloud of Fairies and Shelldock in your hand, Emrakul and other card from your hand in your library. Doesn't matter what it was. Then you're going to play Cloud of Fairies. Sorry, play Shelldock, obviously. Hide away Emrakul. Play Cloud of Fairies, untap Shelldock and Blue Source, cast Emrakul immediately. And then, in the event that you can't win, your bottom card is Shared Fate. So you will not have a draw step. And your opponent will not get to draw anything because your library is empty. And you will keep drawing cards from their deck. So worst case scenario, you lose everything. You lose Emrakul. Your opponent is drawing nothing for the rest of the game, and you are drawing from their deck for the rest of the game.
You just straight up lock them out of playing the game if they remove your Emrakul, which can only be done with a colorless removal spell or ability.
So at this time, Goblins is playing target player sacrifices a creature. If it was a goblin, they get 2 goblins. That's one way to do it. I could also either vial in Sting Scourger to put Emrakul in their hand, and then they can't get it back out of their hand, so yeah.
Gotcha. This is insanely cool. Like, I think this is the kind of thing that, like, so Doomsday is incredibly cool because it asks you to figure out stuff like this. Thassa's Oracle is incredibly not cool because it just, like...
Yeah, it just says you win. Even if it gets removed, you still just win.
Right. And I think, like, honestly, like, Jason and Labman are both very cool still. Like, they make it, you know, easier. Though I do think, like, less charming in a lot of respects than, like, what's going on here. Because, like, as soon as I saw Shelldock Emrakul, I was like, oh, that's really cool. And
I knew you would like it because of the
I was like,
Shelldock.
well, that's... well, I think Doomsday Shelldock is, like, a really, really interesting combo. Like, the way it works is just so cool. The brainstorm first is really, like, bold, but it does make sense that it, like, functionally lets you set up the whole combo that turn and then Shared Fate.
This is also a show and tell deck. So on turn 3, you can just show and tell Emrakul, which I think is perfect speed for Legacy. Because I do not like when you show and tell Omniscience, then cast Emrakul for free. But show and telling Emrakul and saying, pass, you must answer this card, figure it out, is the kind of speed that I think is just right for Legacy.
I like that. And then you have Limb Duel's Vault to set up your whole deck.
Yeah.
To do whatever you want.
Yeah, Spell Pierce and Force of Will just
the sideboard Armageddon is really funny. Like, I don't know what that's for, but it feels weird. I didn't realize we were playing white cards. And, like, we're not. I assume Solitary Confinement's white.
Yes, it is.
Okay, because it's like
it's another card
it's
another card that skips your draw step.
Okay, because I was like, otherwise, like, we're just, like, rocking some white cards for that sideboard Armageddon, which would be weird.
Yep. Okay. Next up, Mythic Conscription. This is a standard deck that I believe is named for the fact that it does not include any non-land cards that are less than rare. We are on all rares and mythics. And it is named for the conscription synergy. Have you ever heard of this?
Nope.
All
But
right.
I assume playing non-creatures is bad. So, or non-creature, non-planeswalkers is bad.
Well, Eldrazi
I don't know.
Conscription is there as the namesake. So you're going to play Sovereigns of Lost Alara. And whenever a creature you control attacks alone, you get to tutor for an aura that could enchant that creature and put it into play attached to that creature.
Okay.
Okay, so we're going to go get this aura.
An 8 mana Emrakul instant aura. Oh. Whoa.
So notably, your creature has already declared the attack alone. So you're going to get +10/+10 in Trample and +1/+1 from Exalted. Hopefully this just kills the opponent. If it's on a Baneslayer trigger, it's probably going to kill the opponent. If it's on a Knight of the Reliquary, good chance it kills the opponent. Sovereigns of Lost Alara itself will be a 15/16 trample. So, pretty good. You're not going to get the Annihilator trigger until the following turn, but again, this is mostly irrelevant because you just want to kill them.
Right. And you've ideally cast a 6-drop, which means
Well,
their
then you've
life
also
total is
got
not 20.
Gideon Jura, Jason Mind Sculptor, and and Elspeth Knight Errant to muck up the board.
Now it's a flying trample.
Neither. DIY Emrakul.
DIY Emrakul. That's really cool. I think that's like this is a very evocative card as well, and makes me think like, oh, like there's a lot of like enchantment cheating that I feel like occurs in Magic, but it's mostly for Omniscience or Brothers War Omniscience at home. I'd be really excited to play a game where like this was the thing we're trying to cheat in. That's very cool.
And last up, I'm giving you a sneak peek of next year with Brian Kibler's undefeated Worlds deck in Standard, Squadron Hawk, Kago. If you've heard of Cawblade, that is not what this is. This is a blue-white control deck, the win condition for which involves Squadron Hawk.
All right, so we can kill people with Squadron Hawk, and then we've got removal, cantrip, removal, and then Gideon, Jace, removal, and Spreading Seas, which I assume is removal.
Yeah, for lands. This Spreading Seas is to stop the opponent from blocking you with Celestial Colonnade by making it an island. So your Colonnade won't trade with their Colonnade.
But what is the Squadron? Like, Squadron Hawk's just like a card advantage piece here?
Yep. It's a 1/1 that replaces itself that can be a clock, or it can just completely undo the creature-based calculus of you are attacking me with creatures and I am blocking. If we trade, I have 3 more of this, and you will have to get your cards the old-fashioned way.
Right. So she's casting a 2-mana 1/1 4/1.
Yeah.
And then you also just like are rocking Jason the Mind Sculptor along with some of Blues. I like there's only 2 mana leaks in the deck. Like that's really interesting to me.
Mm-hmm. And 4 spells.
Because like I can see that being like a metagame call, right? Like it's half as much mana. It's just like fascinating that like in fact, yeah, it's really interesting there's only 3 Day of Judgments too. Like it's interesting that there are 8 Planeswalkers that can win the game along with Squadron Hawk, but like not like 4. I would have just assumed that like 4x mana league would be huge. But
well, there are 5 blue-black control in the top 8 here. And I assume they're all playing Jason the Mind Sculptor. So if the main thing you need to be countering is Jason the Mind Sculptor, I guess Spell Pierce does the job for 1 mana less.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's it. This is kind of a rogue deck right now, but Squadron Hawk is going to be a much bigger deal very soon.
I love it. I think Squadron Hawk's very cool. I also think it's interesting to see like a couple more names that I recognize in the names of the players doing this winning than I did before.
Yeah, we're getting closer and closer to present day. So the names you recognize will hopefully continue to grow apace.
That is definitely possible. And what a good set of decks.
And that's it. So next up, we've got 2011. We've got the beginning of the Mirrored and Besieged block. Or, I guess, the beginning of the Phyrexian War in earnest with Mirrored and Besieged. And then finally, New Phyrexia. And I bet you're excited to get to Innistrad.
Spoilers, but I am excited to get to Innistrad. That might be coming. Who could say? how many years away that is. But it might be next. Here's the thing. I won't remember by the next time we film one of these. So it won't even be a spoiler.
All right. Any closing thoughts?
I think this is a cool year. I think these are my favorite constructed decks that you've shown me.
Yeah, they're pretty cool, right?
And I don't know if that's just the Doomsday one, right? Like that, there's a certain amount of like incredible coolness to that deck in particular. That could just be because it's at the end, but I think it seems like a great year. I'm excited to be back doing these and can't wait for 2011.
All right. We'll see y'all next time.